Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to another episode of Lack of Focus, episode 98, Transmission Scrambled. I am your host, Ed Horde, and alongside me tonight, my good friend, Mr. Sean Dorsey. Sean, how's it going, my friend?
Good, Ed. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. And of course, our producer extraordinaire one, Mr. Kris Sheriff. Kris, how's it going, my friend?
Good, thanks, Ed.
All right, so I'm actually kind of in the dark on what today's main topic is going to be. I have been a little MIA as of recently with events that have prevented me from joining in all the fun. So I'm looking forward to seeing what our main topic is because I'm getting told it was a surprise to me. But
Well, we
before we
we played the assault. No, not the assault. It's the scramble the transmission scenario, which you were invited to and come and
I
play
was
and come and watch. But
I was
so
absolutely.
this is going to be the first in our series of like trying to deep dive on each scenario and just give thought. Like I said, deep dive. It's going to be our like initial. I've played it once. Sean's played it once. Ed's still not played it yet.
I haven't even
But
seen it played.
like a deep dive on this scenario so that we can look at it again in like 6 months and realize how stupid we were.
Well, good. I'm looking forward to that. In the meantime, let's kind of cover over what we've been doing in gaming lately in the old flight deck. Sean, what have you been up to lately, my friend?
I hate the Force.
Well, that's
Yeah.
getting saved for main topic.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I've always, like you guys know, I'm not a fan of Jedi or anything in the movies and shows and all that. And I just like the world and the feel and everything else. But Chris and I actually played a game, um, which I'll let Chris go more into the in-depth details. I'll kind of give you the list that I played. And I kind of played it backwards after thinking about it as I was playing it, but I really wanted to go through it after the game in my head and figure it out. But I played the list that I brought up on the show last time, which was the Rebel list that I talked about, which was Ted Num. He was outfitted with ion cannons, auto blasters, a shield upgrade, of course, the servo motor S foils, and elusive. I played Netrum Pollard. These are B wings, the ones I'm talking about right now.
Of
With
course.
with an ion cannon, ion torpedoes, munitions failsafe, servo motor S foils, Gina Moon song with ion cannon, ion torps, munitions failsafe, and servo motors, and then the T-65 version of Garvin. Um,
It's a classic. It's
yeah,
classic.
I like Garvin, and he got his ability off a couple times before he got forced off the board. He played with servo motor S foils, Marg Sable Closure, Ion Torpedoes, R5 Astromech, and Munitions Failsafe. And then Derek Clivian, who I think did some pretty good work, although he rolled poorly, but he did his work.
Yeah,
I mean, when
there's a really interesting sidebar on that which I wouldn't mind your input into because I can't remember if I like talked you into him or out of him, like from Blount as a 2 point ship. But like a
well,
bunch of people online seem to be massive fans of Blount because it is like just pure extra damage for stupid super cheap. But
Yeah.
yeah, but
I don't.
but
I think you made the right choice for your list. I think that's still the right ship.
I do too, and because you were correct in what we were talking about before about the claiming, if you're going to do it, you need to get to the middle quick to at least get a point out of the middle. And I did. I got there,
Yeah.
but I didn't get the damn point, because I had to boost to get there. So
Yeah.
that was my action, so I couldn't
If
claim.
only you could have boosted in the system phase by Jedi cheating, Sean. I don't know what to tell you.
And I'm not even going to, Jedi don't exist to me anymore. One thing I want to talk about this list, where if we were playing in 2.0 world of points, this list would have been a 260 point list.
Yeah.
Yeah, about that.
So let's look at this realistically now. You have a list that is now, because a lot of people used to bitch about the 100 point limit and then the 200 point limit, because they couldn't do all the cool things that they want to do. And with this method, you can actually do more cool things, that you
It
want to do.
almost forces you to do the cool stuff, I think.
Yeah,
I would agree because like there's no reason not to spend those points.
right. I mean, the loadout points. I mean, we used to sit back and, you used to always have the quandary of, am I going to spend the 2 points, or am I going to do the 198 or 98 point build, or 100 and whatever point build, 196 point build, or am I going to try to get that 4 points or 2 points for, to be able just to choose first, at that point. And, so you ended up underserving your lists, I think, at that point. With this, the nice thing is that the buildable side of this and the adjustable side of this can really be done in the loadout more so than in the ship point cost. So if you think a ship is too powerful with certain loadouts, you can actually adjust your loadout points to cause it to not be able to do the absolute best thing, that min max idea. You can actually take ships out better this way than you can in the 200 point building. you know and then of course having a ban list if your stuff is just, if something's in the game, it's just too good, like anybody using fucking force at this point. And sorry for the language there, but it's the only way that I can
Sorry,
express
not
it.
sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
Anyway, it's just, I like this build way to build, because I had choices. I had more choices than I would have had. And yes, it's a 260 point list, but I
I'm
was
just
able to
adding mine
max.
up now, Sean, to see what I get to. So I'm curious now.
Yeah. Because I think that is a factor in this. I think that's something that a lot of people are missing in all of this new way of building, is that your lists are not limited anymore. You can load out ships. I can put 2 cannons on 10 num. I can put a shield upgrade on 10 num and still have him be decent. And the list. We talked about the list. The concept of the list was the knife fighting in the middle, and I think, with the exception of some things, the list did what it was supposed to do. It's a knife fighting list.
Well,
And
I remember having conversations about ships like we have to spend X amount of points to even make a ship playable. That's the thing that I've been thinking about
mhm,
lately is like, well, you've got to spend X number of points even to make this even playable, and is it even worth it? And I think that conversation practically has died in
So
the fact that you have that ability to spend those points and it doesn't affect the cost going into the list.
right.
So, my list is 247
So,
points.
and you look at the difference in that, Chris, because you have an ability that makes
Yeah.
up for that 13 points,
Oh,
hand
like
over fist.
I mean,
You know.
we might as well like just riff on it rather than do just your flight deck kind of thing. So I
Yep.
ran my Jedi list. 'Cause I'd not actually got it out properly on the table yet. I think I'd played one game with it. And I was Hawk with dedicated barrage rockets, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Agile Gunner. So my lat got a massive upgrade. I think that lat is 72 points compared to the old one I was running was 50. And like
Yep.
Hawk's ability was irrelevant to me. It's just paying for that loadout value.
Yeah.
Then
Yep.
Shakti, in my old list, I was running her pretty lean so that I could actually fit other stuff in the list. But now she got a cannon swap back, so it's auto blasters, R7A7, and marksmanship. So if I'm out of your arc and putting crits into you, it's bad times,
Yeah.
as Sean discovered.
Yep.
Well, as Garvin discovered, I should say, to
Yes,
his
Garvin.
detriment.
Yes. Yes.
Then we have Luminara in the 7B with a hull upgrade and an R4 astromech. And like I'm leaving a force point on the table because I just don't care about any like compassion. I'm not interested. Instinctive aim. I'm not interested in predictive shot. I wasn't interested, and I only have 1 point, so whatever. I'm not even going to put the upgrade on there. It's fine. Then Mace Windu, because I can no longer afford Anakin with the protons because he's 5 points. I only have 4 left.
Oh darn.
Um, but Mace with brilliant evasion, R4P17, which is when you fully execute a red maneuver, you can spend one of his 2 charges and perform an action even when you're stressed. And then calibrated laser targeting. So Mace always has force. It's next to impossible to force starve this ship. I think I spent all 3 of them in one turn, then regen 1 at the end of a round and K turn, so I'm back to 2, and I only need 1 force to convert 2 eyeballs with brilliant evasion for defense. So like he's just always evading for a purple action, and like he's been really good. So he's been as good as I hoped. I don't think he has. You don't get the fear factor of the Anakin Proton Torp, but he did work against Sean, that's for sure. I got a few bullseye shots in there, and even when it's like a range 3 bullseye, it's still a guaranteed focus result, which is a guarantee. Like I just said, I'm going to spend my force all the time, every time anyway. So whatever. Like, even if I K turn, I've got the thing for target locks or focuses because I can have 4P17. So he's just a beast. I really like it. But what I wanted to persevere with a 4-ship list to see if I coordinate and just pick my targets, and we'll go into this aspect of the game when we get to a main topic. But kind of if I'm only running 4 ships, I think you had 5, was it, Sean?
I had 5, yep.
Yeah. If I only have 4, I'm outnumbered, so I can't 1-for-1 control the same number of objectives of you. So I have to pick the area of the table I'm going to fight over. But my ships are all maneuverable enough. The LAT's got a mobile arc with agile gunner, so it can always be pointed where it needs to. And all of my other ships can get to where they need to be to apply that pressure to that specific part of the table. So like I had a moving zone of like, okay, this is where I'm going to open up controlling. Then I'm going to sacrifice this one to move up and take those ones. And because they're all the same initiative, I got a couple where like I turned off the satellite for Sean, but failed the roll to switch it to mine. But then the second ship comes in and does it.
Right.
Because they're all moving together anyway. So I can like get this is a first try, and then on the second try it's guaranteed.
Yep.
And I think it worked pretty well. I'm not gonna lie, I got lucky on Shakti's K turn to get behind.
Well, we had a couple
Garvin.
good maneuver points in the game. There were where you're talking millimeters, of distance, and actually probably less than 1 millimeter for each of us in it.
Well, I don't even mean so much in the move clearing. The choice to boost or not.
Oh yeah.
In the system phase, because I didn't know what you dialed in, and if you just slow roll, like I've you know what I mean. But the way it worked out, my K turn, I boosted in the system phase, then did the 4K behind him, and he did slow roll, so he was right at range 1. Whereas if I'd have just K turned, he would have bumped into the back of me. Whereas if it had gone fast, I would have, been out of like it would have been a worse shock because it would have been out of range. I don't think I would have been able to get the auto blaster, but I didn't.
Right.
Just so like the 50-50 guess on what you were going to do paid off for that one. And then I rolled hits, which I converted to crits, which he couldn't block. So he just got wrecked.
Mm-hmm. And a big part of that too was, so my whole point with the A-Wing was to get to your back row turn 2.
Yeah.
And I did. I got to his back row turn 2. I turned off the satellite, but then I didn't claim it.
Yeah, he failed the
was
roll
annoying.
Yeah.
So the first round, Kris went up 3-2 because I got the 2, he got the 1 in the middle in his 2. So it was a 3-2 game at that point. If I turn that satellite off and then get it, it's a 6-6 game next round.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen, so he really went up in points, and then
I think
turn 4 is when it just really
was it not it was like a 3-1 round in the second one because
it was a 3-1.
Yeah, because I did get the roll to switch it to mine on one action.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then I
So
killed Garvin the next turn, which like widened the gap.
yeah, it was like
Yeah.
18-6 or 18-5, 18-7, something like that.
I think
When we
at the end, I think it was like I think you were at like 11 or 12, and you couldn't stop me winning next turn.
yeah, I would have had to. We figured it out. I had to kill 2 ships to do it,
Yeah,
and there was no way I could do that because of a certain ability that damn ships have. But and a lot of it was there was also a damage disparity where you did 14 points of damage to my 2 points of damage,
yeah, like
which was difficult. That's something that it's hard to overcome. I shot, ion torpedoes. I did get you ioned at least.
yeah,
I ioned the
yeah.
lot, which was important. But if I could have ioned on whichever shot it
It
was,
was
was it? It
Shakti
was a
where no, was
yeah,
it?
it was Netram Pollard shooting at the
It
one in the
wasn't
middle.
Shakti. Yeah, it was
No, it was Mace. It was
yeah,
Mace,
Mace was
wasn't
coming
it?
to range, yeah. So I'd
Yeah.
taken the
So
evade, and I
yep,
roll. Sean got 3 hits out of 4,
yep,
and I rolled evade, blank, and I'd taken the purple evade.
Yep.
yep.
So yeah, I just
And
shrugged it
and
off. But
and all of my shots, every shot I had in the game, which is part of the game, is I at least had one shot that didn't have any paint,
yeah,
so I couldn't modify to hits, fully through. I had a good shot with 10 num, and but I rolled like a hit. I rolled a hit, a focus, and a blank, and so basically it was 2 hits, which you evaded naturally on that one. Those are the nuances of the game that are part of the game. You have to understand that.
yeah,
The other part of it too that helped you a little bit over me was after round one, basically you were first player, each
yeah.
round
And
after
I
that.
think after the first engagement, all of my shots were on the same ship from all 4
Yep.
of my ships.
Garvin took everything, and I did have it in that first round. What was it on Shack T, I believe, right?
Yeah, you got
But
damage onto Shakti, but I Luminaried away the crit, which
yep,
was lucky. Um,
yep,
and then yeah, because the first round we had like we basically had our jousting lines or whatever you want, and just
yeah,
like we all shot what was in front of us. But then the second turn, I kind of had a target to collapse on, so I picked Garvin for the second round of engagement and
yep.
just annihilated him in the right. And that's
And
another
then you
thing
got
about it.
Pollard. You got Pollard in that fourth round and just
Yeah, like
erased
2
him.
turns later,
Yeah, you
I
erased Pollard.
yeah, but it was every time I had, it was just like, okay, this one has to die next, and then
Yep.
yeah,
But the thing about it is we both flew it the way we should have flown it.
yeah,
It's just luck didn't go my way, and and Chris and I were talking about this. It's very hard for a list like I'm playing to overcome the force. It's because he's across the board doing everything by choice because they're all initiative 4. Where I had what threes and fives, I believe, is what I
yeah,
had,
yeah.
and
You had 2 threes, 1 4, and 2
and
5s.
two
I think.
fives. Yeah,
I
yeah,
think that's right.
I believe
Maybe
so.
not. Maybe 2 4s because maybe Garvin.
Yeah, there's
I
two
can't remember.
fours, two
2
fours, a
3.
5,
Yeah, and 2 3s because
and 2 3s. Yeah, so
Pollard
so
and
two
VA-Wing
threes,
were
a 4,
3s.
and
Yeah.
a 5, and then a 2 or I can't remember.
But yeah,
Anyway,
2 threes, 2 4s, and 1 5. But yeah,
yeah,
like you're kind of more predictable on what you're gonna be and where you're gonna go. And I got
yeah,
to like with Shakti, I can reposition in the system phase. With
yep,
Hawk, I can reposition in the end phase.
yep.
Um, for like across my entire list for people at range 1 of him. Obi-Wan is just Obi-Wan Crew is just cheating. I'm a big fan, a really big fan. Um,
But one other thing I want to talk about too is we played with a timer also. So we played rounds with a timer going to see how long it would take us, and we got through 2 round 5 or through round 5. I can't remember.
I think we called it going into round 6, I think,
6, yeah,
because
yeah,
at
we
the
did,
end
yep.
of that turn,
It was 18
the
to
best you
whatever.
could do was make me be at 19 points to your, like, 13 or 14. So it would
Right.
have had to been a massive swing for you to come back at that point.
Well,
So
And
and
we had
we
you
also
were gonna
we
win
had
on
like
points.
12 minutes left, I think, as well when we
yeah.
called it.
And the other thing we were talking about is, we would have played it to the end if it was in a tournament, because the tiebreaker is strength of schedule and then tournament points. So I would have taken that next round to try to score 2, 3, 4 more tournament, try to get as many tournament points as I could, even though knowing that there's no chance of me winning, you're still going to play, for the points. And
Yeah.
to me, it was a game that just it was a fluid game. I don't think we really were slowed by anything. Once I figured out the dials and all that stuff, it's just like,
Yeah, TTS slowed us down because like, neither of us are massively comfortable at it yet. We're
yeah,
still like boomers learning to use computers for whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But at the end of the day, though, I don't think that was a problem either.
No, I think by the end of the game, I think if we'd have had, it would have been on a Saturday during the day kind of thing. I think,
Yeah,
and we played again, it would have been as close to just normal X-wing as we could have
X,
got.
right. So I don't think TTS really truly slowed us. There was some learning curve, of course, but once you're in the game, you're still just setting dials. You're planning. You're doing everything you're normally doing. But I think that both of other than I should have moved Gina Moonsong in next to Tendum instead of having her out on the right wing because of the way the abilities would synergize. And then I
Yeah.
probably should have put Garvin out on the right wing when I did it. That would have been kind of the change that I made, but had the three B wings in line with each other because their whole thing was passing the
Stress
stress
and stuff
to,
around, yeah.
yeah,
I think
and
one thing
then,
that I would have looked at for your list was for the A-wing, I think putting the new config on it so you get the turret and you lose the action into a boost, but you can boost in the system phase like I
mhm,
was. And I think that lets you get to that middle objective every time. If you dial in like system phase boost and 5 straight, you get there
mhm.
every time.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like I said, but the A wing doesn't have upgrade points, so
Yeah. It's a
you know
0 point config. I think it's the only thing you can put on it, but
yeah, it is.
uh,
Yeah, and
yeah.
I didn't go that deep into it because that was kind of the fifth ship in my
Oh no,
list.
it's one of those. I don't think there's anything wrong with not taking it because there's a
Well, no, no,
like you.
I didn't even realize that was there.
Yeah,
So I know you had talked about it on the last show and stuff, but it was like there's enough for me. You know
yeah.
me, I like simple, easy lists that I don't have to think very heavily through.
You and me both, brother.
The other side of it is if he's going to be a flanker, though, you actually don't want it because you want to be
Hmm.
able to get to the objective, take the scenario action, and then boost around so you get the arc on people.
Yeah, yeah.
So
For him though,
there's benefits either way of doing it.
yeah, his role was to get to that back line. That's
Yeah.
was my concept going into the game was I need to get into your side, take away because you're already past him, so you're not gonna try to reclaim what's on
Yeah,
your
and
side.
that was my entire game plan as well, though, was like, I'm not going to hold a line. I need to be moving all the time and
Right.
adjusting where my strength is so that I can fight you. Because if I
Yep.
try to hold the line, I lose.
And my strength is in close quarters. The try to
Yeah,
get range one, range two. Use the ions to control you. K turn with 10 things like that. That's the concept. K turn with any of them because I want them to give 10 the stress anyway.
yeah.
Because 10 numb's 10 and it did and didn't work, and
I mean, the game itself was just a game. I don't think
yeah,
you
yeah, no, no, it was.
like.
I enjoyed it. I was very pleased with the game. There were just
Yeah.
one aspect of that list of yours that's just so hard to overcome. And the
I,
reason why I say that is because I've played against your force lists twice now,
yeah,
and the force was the deciding factor on killing your ships. If you don't have force, Darth
yeah,
Vader in the first game we played is dead.
yeah,
If you don't have force in this one, Shaq-Ti could be dead.
yeah.
It's
I
that type
think
of thing.
the thing in this game that stood out to me is I got the force saved me on defense.
Yep,
I I think I had really good offense, but I think I worked to get it because
you did.
I
Yeah,
got bullseyes. I made sure the Lat's arc was pointing where it
right.
needed to be to give everyone rerolls,
Yep,
and all of my shots were effectively double modded. So
exactly.
like,
Yeah,
where
no,
anytime I
agreed.
didn't have the Lat reroll, I was taking the target lock for target lock and force. So like
Yep,
my worst shot was a barrage rocket shot that only had the focus token.
yep.
And I still had him in
You
bulls.
still,
I still had him in bullseye, so I could spend more charges from my barrage rockets for rerolls.
yep.
Yeah.
And like that was my
And you did,
yeah,
and I think that's what took Nitram Pollard off the board was that,
yeah. So I just
you know.
like every shot you take being double modded and everyone shooting at one ship is like, yep, I think I earned my kills. I'm not gonna say
Yep.
you didn't shit out on my evade rolls because, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it is
But
what it is. It's excellent.
yeah, but no, it was
But
good.
I will say this, the scenario was actually fun to play.
Yeah,
And you know me,
was.
I'm not a scenario guy. I'm still learning about scenarios, playing other
Right.
games,
That
but
was my fourth scenario game because I've played each one once now. So it was your first scenario game, which I think
mhm,
is instantly a massive advantage to me. I'm not gonna lie, and like I'm just so good. I think the fact that I've played a couple of them and had my head around kind of how it worked was a huge advantage anyway. And
right,
then like just seeing how it interacted with like, okay, so if I go here and don't claim it, I'm still denying you the points, but I need to make sure it's quick. I need to keep that pace up because if I let you drag the game out and you get to spread out and control all of the area, I just start losing. So I've got to hit you hard, hit you fast, and be where I need to be.
right.
And I think it worked. But
See,
I would say that it did.
there's a
there's nothing that you did that didn't really work in your favor.
uh,
The goal, like we talked about, the goal against a list like yours is I have to take a ship off the board. I have to focus everything at one ship. And
yeah.
when you
And
don't
like
take it off the board, you're at such a disadvantage.
and like my goal is always I need to let you have like one and a half good shots at either Shakti or Mace or
Right,
Luminara, and then make sure you don't get that again on the same ship for the next couple of turns.
right, right,
Because I can take one or two damage on a ship, and you've got to have like two good shots to guarantee. And like obviously, if I blank out, one shot can kill Shakti.
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Right. But generally, you need at least two shots to be plinking any damage onto her. So if I can make it sure you only get the two shots, I've got my evade token, I've got my force, uh, I've got range, or I've got some like Luminara, I've got dedicated on the Hawk on my Lat. I keep calling it the Hawk because his name's Hawk. On the
Mhm.
Lat, who is named Hawk, I've got dedicated. So there's a bunch of little nuances to try and just give you a feeling that, oh, this is a good time. I'll take this shot. And then she boosts out and does a 5 straight or a 4K, and you can't shoot her next turn. You've got to switch
right.
to Mace, and then he does the same. Then the only one I can never stop you shooting is the Lat, but it's always in the middle, just being a big anvil for everyone else to work around. So,
Well, and it's still a tough ship. It's got 10 hit points.
yeah.
I mean, I only took one shield off of that because I was shooting it.
It was shields down, I think.
No, 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 no. I only took one shield off of it, and that was the ion shot. because I shot it at range 3 the rest of the time. Because I
Maybe.
focused
Oh,
on
I
shot
did, yeah.
D.
So I'd rolled a bunch of evades of it as well, didn't I? Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
you were at range 3 and
Listen to the tone of his voice. Yeah, I did
no,
that.
no. So,
yeah.
so even when it was just the 212th Battalion pilot or whatever the generic one is, my
Yep.
lats just roll evades. Like
Yeah.
having agile gunner means that I never have to use my action to rotate the turret, so I always have a focus generally. Now I've got Obi-Wan on there as well, so I generally have focus and a force.
Mhm.
So it's deceptive how much that one agility just like, yeah, well, there's an evade. Oh, it's obstructed. I'll take my two. Oh, I got another evade. But yeah, again, I think I rolled double evade like a couple of times with it because it was like either obstructed or a range 3 shot. And I ended turns with like focus tokens still on the table because
Oh,
I just didn't need them for defense. So
oh, jeez.
whatever.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
it was just one of those games where it was pretty lopsided, but it was a game where it could have been different if a few other things happened. It's just the way
I
that
I
played
think
out.
for me anyway, I felt like I had a better understanding of how this type of list will work in that scenario. I
Hmm.
still want to play. I think I've got an 8-ship vulture swarm. That's like just 6 vultures and 2 hyena bombers
So
that
that's
I
for
want to
you, Ed.
try.
You can take that on against Ed.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I think swarm on swarm would be a ton of fun.
um, well, I think uh, it's more not even like the opponent's list. It's how do I play this in these different missions? Like where I'm
Yeah.
just got to sit up because obviously I'm going to take a big rock, so where I can just sit on a rock and just be next to it. But like, there's loads of points for people to have seismic charges now.
Yep.
So anyone who can have a bomb, if you don't have a different plan for it, should probably have a seismic because what's it really costing you? Like, it's included in your points now. So,
Mhm.
Right. Right. Exactly. No,
can you?
I will say this. It's playing against force for me just isn't as fun as just playing against list on list. That's just my opinion.
Yeah,
But it doesn't mean I wouldn't want to play against the list with force because there's a challenge to it. But
I think
you know,
when you put one thing that people isn't immediately apparent with the force about how strong it is and where the strength in it lies. It's not in the actual abilities of so like, yeah, fair enough. Like the Aether sprites can do a reposition after a move and then their action, so they get to double reposition. Soontia can do that, and Intercept can do that. It's
right,
not
right.
it's the I can always have this calculate token and
Hmm.
I just have these passive mods. So if you don't plan around me, have it's I think what does I say? It's like playing against the old Commonwealth defenders, wasn't it? It was the reference I used, Sean. Was that
Yeah,
if you don't have a plan of how you're going to focus multiple shots on one of them, you've got this token stack that you have to be able to deal with. And
right.
that's how it feels to me, is like the triple defender style list. Like I just have that much many mods. Like this is why I think Obi-Wan's absolute fucking bullshit. I think it happened once. This game, I didn't get the dream, but it was very close because the dream with this list is Mace takes the purple evade, so he spends one of his force for that. Then gets shot, spends his evade. Obi-Wan says, "Okay, you can turn that into a focus token now." Then he shoots someone at range 1 in his bullseye, and he's now got a focus token to convert all of it because he adds a focus from calibrated, and it's now like a 3 dice plus. So I'm like, I got to actually spend the evade, turn it into a focus, but then it wasn't a bullseye shot that he took, and I think I just rolled natural hits anyway. Woe is me, so I didn't need it.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
but that kind of thing, oh, like just it just feels dirty sometimes. The shit you can do. I feel like I always have a token stack with a ship that's getting shot. Which whether that's me doing the right thing or the list being fucking easy to play, I won't comment. I obviously I would like to think that I'm just a highly skilled X-Wing player who will dominate the world with this list, but I think we all know what the truth is. Yeah.
Anyway,
So
to,
flight
to,
Sean's flight deck.
yeah,
and,
yeah. The
and
other the
most
other thing I
impressive.
did is I got some models base painted, so we'll have the next couple years of blue on models before I have to strip them, redo them, and then actually paint them or not. So I'll be playing some Space Marines with some paint on them, and my son got
Good.
my son got his stuff base paint, based up too. So we'll at least have models that have something on them and kind
That's
of
a
go
good
from
start.
there. So
That's a good start.
last week was kind of a productive gaming week, and played some Project Zomboid too. So not too
Good.
And
bad of a week.
you played D&D as well.
And played D&D.
You
Yep.
got to be pivotal. I
Yep.
feel like that's probably one of your biggest sessions we've had in the entire 2 years of a campaign.
Oh God,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Like
Yeah.
we
think
were so close to dying so many times.
Yep. Yeah. No, I mean, the one thing is we are running out of that ammunition. So if we keep doing this, we're not going to be alive here much longer. But we got very lucky with Vesserin and myself, Ed's character, and Theseus, my priest, and we got very lucky because we got basically just shat upon in one room with our with our very methodical play that we have as a group. We basically had out of 5 characters, 3 of them down, me with 8 hit points, you with like 2, Ed, or something.
Oh God, yeah. No,
And
I was down to like teens. I was in the teens. I have 94 hit points to start. I was in the teens after that.
yeah, if I don't roll the saving throw,
Same.
the game's over. It's
If
literally
I had rolled mine, I'd have been. The whole party would have been down.
yeah, if it was 53 and it was basically 100 damage you all took from
yeah.
the triggering the encounter. But
Yeah, it was
I think
enough. It was enough for me to take half points on the first save, and then I failed the second, and I went from 84 to 8 points of damage. So what's that? 76 points of damage with a full blast to the face, and then a half blast.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And really and truthfully, we
I,
just got
I was
very very lucky.
I had a moment of like, oh well, I mean, I suppose ending the campaign like 20 minutes into a session is okay.
Yeah,
Gives us loads of time to decompress about how it went.
right, right.
Right.
Well, yeah, you guys were accidentally correct, I feel. You managed to pin one of the iron golems into its alcove, so I
Yep.
couldn't move it out, and it was
Purely by accident.
yeah,
It wasn't
I don't think
planned
there
in
was
any
any
way, shape,
plan
or
to
form.
do that.
No grand plan there. That was pure coincidence that we
Yeah,
managed to get that going.
Yep.
yeah. So that was
Yeah, and
fun.
that thing hit like a Mack truck because every time I'd get somebody
Ooh.
hit points, he would drop another character, and
There's a 32 hit. Oh
yeah,
man.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Sulamash knew what the ground tasted like. What three or 4 times there,
Yeah. I was a little
and
bit sad that I never got to attack one character twice. I'm like, because I could start killing people. Like, just there was always
yep,
someone who I had to like deal with. So a little, a little bit sad I didn't get to TPK my friends, but what are you gonna do?
yeah, yeah. What are you
Tried
gonna
to
do?
really, really hard. He really,
I
really tried.
didn't try. A module stated get wrecked party, and then
Yep,
you have an encounter after it.
yep. It was fun though. It was a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
It was good. That was one of the most exciting ones we've done all the entire campaign, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it had nothing to do with Strahd. Strahd was nowhere near involved in that combat.
Mm-mm.
And then so on Sean, we're not it's not me yet, it's still Sean. Oh.
Well, now it's you because I am pretty much
Yeah.
done. So back to you, Ed.
Well, I was gonna say, since you and Kris kind of already ran with it, I want to see if there's anything else Kris wants to cover before we go. Before, because mine's super brief. I can tag mine on at the end.
I've got a bunch, but yeah, I've been. Finally got to finish painting my Delac gang for Necromunda to start a new campaign.
Good.
I finally finished those the other week. So that was a bit more of a slog again. I batch painted all 10 plus the like psychoteric worm thing, so like 11 models in one, which was probably a mistake. I should have done it in 2 groups of 5, but whatever. So I'm glad they're finished. They look, I think the photos make them look really, really good, and I think they look good on the table. Like they're fit for purpose, shall we say. I mean, I didn't spend the amount of time I did on the Ogrins as I did on the Dulac, so that's fine. I got to play some X-Wing the other week, so I have played every scenario at least once now. So that was good as well. Have I done any other gaming? We played Arkham Horror. We finally got to play the next scenario in the Innsmouth campaign, which was really, really interesting. It's like the entire town of Innsmouth's flooding, and you're trying to make your way to a train station, and like
Yeah.
the water's catching you, but you could pick up keys along the way, and if you had all 7 keys, you got to read. You uncover memories because you're all suffering from amnesia, and there was one big mob has the last key, but it's got like 16 hit points, and like you do 1 damage and attack.
Oh.
But I was like, I think we can do it if like I can do like 6 to 8 damage in a round if I get lucky and on the draw, and then like Nick can do a bunch of damage. So I think if we just stall the game out, we can get it and get this last memory. And normally I'm the one who's like, okay, we've done the mission, let's just get out. But I was like, no, come on, let's just stay. We can do it. We can do it. And then we almost all died. The last flip of all of the cards meant that we were all starting in areas that were fully submerged. So if you start in a fully submerged area and also end in one, you just die because you drown, get wrecked.
Yeah.
We had 0 health, but we also drew all of the monsters that turn as well. So we were all fully engaged. So I was like, oh shit. I was saying it after we played, it's like if I'd have just died, I'd like, oh, what happens? You start the next mission with you carry damage over effectively. I was like, I would have been fine if it was just me, but if I kill all 3 of us, I would have felt bad. But we managed to all cut and run, so that was fun. Then what else has been happening the last 2 weeks? So I have some like actual news and some like real world stuff. So I'm going to start with the crappy stuff. So obviously I normally I say this till the end of the show because I'm terrible at podcasting and YouTube and everything like that. But like patrons are always really good and support us a lot. The evade tokens are in production now, so they should be able to get sent out relatively soon. I'd hope like April, May, people should start receiving them. I'm gonna like put Alan to task now. Some people will receive them in end of April, middle of May kind of time. And it's been really good. But one of the things that I wanted to do, I don't really do a lot of like the supporting different causes. I just let the world flow over us. But I did take all of the Patreon money from last month, and we donated it to the Red Cross to like support the recovery efforts in the Ukraine, because obviously like real world stuff's going on at the moment, and I thought it's the least I can do. You guys have supported us when we've been going through hard times here, and like my hard times of like having to pay for hosting or having to pay for editing software doesn't really compare to what's happening in the world at the moment. So that's what we did with our Patreon money this month. So thanks everyone. I'm not going to do any like big publicity posts on it. I'll throw a post up on the Patreon for people so you can actually see the results of the donation kind of thing, just so I hate the fact that I have to do this, but like
I
just to
know.
prove that I actually did it, not just
Mhm.
lying because of the world we live in, you know. Um, but that'll be on the Patreon if anyone wants to go to like a focus Patreon. There'll be a post on there. But like, I'm not going to change our profile picture and do all of that. So I rather the actions rather than the what sometimes feels hollow to me. And again, I think a lot of it comes from the military service side of it, where I've kind of like I did stuff, so I don't. I don't. It's hard to talk about it without verging on insulting people, if
Yeah,
that makes sense. But
it makes sense.
it's not that, and that's not the intent. It's just a different perspective from the life I've lived and what I've wanted to do with that money. So thanks everyone. Hopefully that does a minuscule amount of good. And yeah, so that's the crap part. The other real world stuff that's hopefully good. You know, hopefully this is a little bit better news than war in the Ukraine. Is going to be a dad again. Evie's going to be a big sister. Oh, yeah.
Congratulations, Kris. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
we had a 13-week scan last week and everything's looking really good. So I managed to keep it up. This is what I was saying about being a terrible friend, Ed. I messaged a couple of people and I just
No, my
forgot to
genuine
post it in
response
the group.
is much better.
Yeah. Um I told Sean while we were chatting before you jumped on. So I was like, oh, I'll tell Ed live, so you get to see the face. But
That's awesome.
yeah,
Congratulations. I'm
so yeah,
super excited for you.
that's why I'm really tired all the time now, because I'm trying to work a bunch of extra shifts and start saving money. Because yeah, I was saying to Sean, I think last time we ended up burning through like 10 grand of a line of credit when Jill was off. And this time we only have 1 grand left of the line of credit going in. So yeah, Kris is going to be tired and
Yeah.
grumpy for a while, folks.
So that's the tail end of the conversation that I jumped in on, which was,
Yeah,
hey, 11 o'clock late shift tonight. Sure, I'll take that.
yeah. But yeah, it's just been one of those things where I've been like kind of jumping in, trying to do as much as I can there. I've still been trying to make content, so I'm still super excited about like X-Wing and like the new version of a game. It's been really interesting. So I've been going through making a bunch of videos, which have been going well. So yeah, that's been my life for the last 2 weeks.
I'm so excited for you.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. It's been fun. Like obviously, like don't really have much family here, so it's only my mum who's been like a couple of times since Christmas. Um, we've just been like keeping it under wraps, not really told anyone, not spoken to anyone about anything. So it's all like, ah. But yeah, we're telling people now. Like, so you guys all get to find out at the same time. Yay!
I found out a few days before all of you. I'm just saying.
I'll post pictures in the Discord now. It's fine.
Okay, all right. That works. That works.
um,
So they say, Kris, having two, once you have one kid, having two is completely easy. That's a lie.
I'm fully
That is
aware. Right,
that is a flat out lie.
the stupid thing. I'm terrified because Evie's really, really good, and it's been really, really easy. So I am no way prepared to have a difficult child.
Well, it's not even that. For me, it was you evolve to a point as your child grows up that your life revolves around the child. Your life revolves around this is how bedtime works, this is how this, and then something comes in that has a completely different routine that doesn't do the things that you do, that you can't do all of the same things you want to do because we want to go to the park, we want to go here. It becomes a little bit more of a chore than it was before. It was the same chore you had 2 years ago or 3 years ago, but now it's that plus one. So now it becomes like it'll be fine. You'll do fine.
Yeah. I'm not worried. I'm just terrified.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's fine. It's all right.
I'm fully well aware.
Yeah,
I'm still
it's all
waiting. I
good.
still have like they're older now, so it's a little bit easier. But I still have that thought in the back of my head. Like I go in and check on my kids from time to time. I haven't heard from them. Are you still breathing? Right? Like I
Yeah,
still have that. You're still breathing, right? thing still in my back of my head all the time. I don't think that ever goes away.
yeah, yeah. But It's
I don't
like,
know how
but
to follow. I don't know how to follow
no,
that up with my
no.
flight deck. Like, how do you follow that up
Well,
to be like,
I'm gonna make you because I want to go and fill up my glass. So I want to
sure,
disappear. So you have to
I'll.
vamp until I get back at least.
That's fine. I'll talk about 40K. You don't want to hear about it anyway.
I'll still hear it. I just won't be able to
I know.
call you an absolute loser who spends time playing 40k instead of X-Wing.
I got two
Luckily, I
games
got
of
it in
40.
early.
Yeah, you did. You did. So I did get 2 games of 40K, and that's it, pretty much the only gaming I've really been doing aside from other things. I'll get to that in a moment. Went to the game store, got an opportunity to play against Chad in the league game, which we hadn't actually had a chance to play our league game, which was fun. 1,000 point games. We one of the players pointed out to us that we were playing on table sizes that were incorrect, and I kind of semi knew this, and I've known it for a while. Um, Technically, the size that you're supposed to play on for 1,000 point game is 30 inches by 44. But we've been playing on a little bit bigger and just kind of setting up tables, just kind of letting people do whatever they wanted to do. But the guy that, like, somebody else in the store was playing that, so everyone else is kind of following suit, like, because he went out and bought all these brand new vinyl mats, and we all wanted to try them out. And the first time that I played on a table, that was really small. So, Sean, I know you have to know this. You have to like the standard card tables that every freaking game store has. They're
Yep.
all the exact same. Like, these mats fit on those tables. Like, I don't have to put a board over top of it like I would, like, if I wanted to get a 3 foot by 3 foot on it. It just fits on there, and it was really kind of strange to play on a board of that size, that small. Because even as Chad and I were setting up, we're like, this is really tiny. But we ended up playing the game. It ended up turning out. It ended up going. I had a great turn two. Basically, I had ducked behind a whole bunch of walls with my Necrons, and he charged forward. And
Okay.
and he took objectives in the beginning on his first turn. My first turn was, I think I shot with 2 units, but I'm kind of waiting. And then he moved forward, and my Scorpec destroyers went completely insane and killed this unit, and moved on to kill that unit, and moved on to kill that unit, and it was just legitimately, I'm absolutely loving Scorpex now that they're in core. There is a unit in the Necron Codex that allows, it's called a Techromancer, that allows you to look at a core unit and say, hey, one of your guys, get back up. And they moved Scorpex into core, which means that every turn I can take a 65 point model and pick it back up.
Right.
So even if Chad manages to kill 1 or 2 within a turn or two, I'm back to full strength. So legitimately, the last couple of games that I have played, I've had like 3 or 4 models at the end of the game that are quote unquote dead. Everything else keeps getting back up on my Necron army. It's been a lot of fun. The game that I got to play last night, I was the one that I was looking for the most. The main reason I got a chance to play against a guy by the name of Brett. Brett is the guy that I wanted to bring into a league. The whole reason why the league is designed the way that it is more of a fun league than it is a competitive league. Brett is one of those players. I love him to death. Plays the armies he plays because he loves the lore. Doesn't care about competitive, doesn't care about what does well on the tabletop, doesn't pick his units that way. He picks the units right because it makes sense in the fluff. He builds his armies the way that makes sense in the fluff. Like in this particular book that he was reading about Gene Stealer cults, this is how these are the units that were in there, so that's how he plays it. Because he plays a lot of Crusade. He, up until the league had started, he had never played matched play, which is
I have
considered to
heard
be.
that Crusade's the best way to play 40k.
He's convinced me, because part of the deal for him joining the league and playing a match play was that when the league was over, that I would play with him and his friends in Crusade. And I agreed to those terms. But he was the reason why I wanted to get the league started in the first place. He and I got a chance to sit down and play. We had a barrel of laughs. A barrel. The wins, loss, even some of the dice rolls, like, legitimately didn't matter. It was just a great, fun game. Had a bunch of fun, and it was serendipitous for me to be able to get an opportunity to play against him, because he was the guy that said, oh, I'll never play in a league. And here he and I were sitting down, having a good game, having a fun game. Nobody's getting salty. He kills a unit of mine. I'm laughing at the same things that he's laughing at. Like, he had these guys at Gene Stealer called that came up with, they're all on bikes, and they all roll up on my Doomstalker, that big War of the Worlds kind of thing with a big gun in its forehead. 2 squads roll up and throw hand grenades into it and killed it in 1 round of shooting. And it was hysterical. and we both had, and they died the very next turn to the Scorpics that were hiding behind the wall. But it was still, it was a ton of fun. So that was right there was the whole reason why I wanted to do the League at the Store the way that I did it, was to have guys like him come in and just absolutely have some of those hysterical events happen for people like it who don't care whether or not they win or lose a game. So that was a ton of fun. That's it. That's all. Like legitimately, that's all I did gaming wise. Nothing super special. I had someone from I think someone tried to scam me on eBay, which I can't wait to see how this turns out because I got like 5 more days to come to the fruition on this one. I cleaned and sold a PlayStation on eBay. I sold it for $100, and 4 days after the guy got it, he responded to me saying, "Hey, I want to return it because it's damaged," which I thought was really strange because it clearly worked whenever I sent it. And I said, "Sure, sure. Send me some pictures and let me see what happened." And it looks like the it looks like it was damaged in shipping. Like it was dropped and the one corner is kind of mashed, and it's right where the power button is, so it won't start up. Well, that's a shame. I had paid UPS to ship it and wrap it. So that's on them. That's not on me. So what I said to him was like, "Well, sure. Well, I'll send you a return label, send it back because I have extra parts. I have a non-functioning one that I can just swap the case in, so I can take that motherboard, put it in this one, fix the case. I have a brand new button on there, and then I'll just resell it." So for the $22, I think it is for him to ship it back to me, no problem. I mean, I'm losing a little bit of money, but I'm not losing everything. Now, if I had something that I had, and I've done this before, when I've had something to return from eBay, I've bought something, it was damaged or whatever, I ship it, I don't know, within the next 24 to 48 hours. He hasn't shipped it yet. And eBay gave him until the 14th. If he doesn't ship it by the 14th, they cancel the refund request. I've already gone through and put through and got approved from UPS my insurance claim on them, saying, "Well, here's the photos that he sent me. Here's what I sold the auction for." And they said, "Sure, sure." They reimbursed me. It was insured for over $100, so they're going to reimburse me that and the shipping. So I'm getting my money back for everything from UPS, but he hasn't shipped anything. And I happened to mention this at work, how I thought it was really strange. Like if I wanted my money back, I would like I sent him a label in the email. He acknowledged the email. Why wouldn't you just put it back in the box that it came in and off it goes? And one of the guys at work to me, who I had not thought about this, is like, there are plenty of people out there who buy things on eBay, claim that they're damaged, realize you're not going to pay the shipping back, and say, "Hey, refund my money." You refund their money, and they get to keep it when it's not really damaged. And I was like, "Well, he sent me photos of it." He said, he sent you photos of a damaged PlayStation
Right.
3. How do you know it was the one that you sent him?" And I went, "I don't know that it was a sent him. I'll know it when I get back because I got in the habit whenever I cleaned them, right on top of
Make
the
a note
power
of
supply.
serial numbers.
No,
You-
right on top of the power supply, I write the year, month, and date of when I changed the thermal paste. So if anyone ever opens it, it says right there, thermal paste was changed on XYZ date. So when I get it back, if that's not there and I have photos of that, I'm going to know that he sent me back the wrong one. The guy at work would convince me, he's like, "If this guy hasn't sent this back in, it's been
Yeah.
almost 2 weeks." He's like, "That guy found pictures of a damaged PlayStation online, is trying to scam you, and said, oh, the minute you sent him the return label, that's where the whole thing stopped because he realizes he
Right.
can't send it back because he doesn't physically have it."
Right.
Now, I
Well,
don't know that
that's
that's the case. I mean, he still has 4 days.
yeah, but I think it's correct though. The way that people are is that a lot of people don't want to pay the return because you're losing money 2 ways that way because you're paying, for the return, and most people don't insure their stuff like you did, you know,
Right. To
because
me,
either they don't think the insurance is worth it, or any, things like that. Like when I send anything anywhere that's of value, I always insure it, you
same
know.
here. That's a policy that I have too. So in 4 days, I'll know by the time this show airs, I will know whether or not that guy put it in the, because the USPS label that I sent him will either have been used or it has not been used, and then eBay will cancel the refund request.
Right.
But I feel but then I feel bad because I went to UPS and made a claim in insurance. So now I've got yay, I don't have to pay him $100. Wait, now I've just committed insurance fraud.
But not
But
really, because it was damaged. I mean,
if it was really damaged, that's where they get into
So,
that weird if thing.
so
If
yeah,
he
but
said you
has he
he's
got his money back?
no, because eBay
Yeah.
holds the money.
Yeah.
So eBay gives you the option. You can either refund the money now and then just end it, or you can take the option of sending him a shipping label to return it, and when he mails it, then they release the money to him.
right.
If he hasn't shipped it back, they're not going to release the money to him.
Well, then
He has 4 days left.
just throw the UPS money into a CD, and when UPS comes back at you for insurance fraud, say, "Here's your money back," and I've just made, kind of like banks do.
Yeah,
You
I
just
made a couple of bucks on a couple of bucks on the interest.
right, exactly.
That's not a bad idea. So yeah, now I have that moral quandary of I thought I was doing the right thing. Hey, I need to make a claim. I don't want to lose all my money on this. It is like $100 I'm losing. I'd rather have the $100 back. And then I'm like, now what do I do? If this guy doesn't send this, I've just committed insurance fraud unknowingly, but I just
Like,
committed insurance.
you could always email UPS and give corporate America some more money.
I
You
could.
know,
I recognize in the
I mean,
grand
it
scheme
is
of things,
their money. They earned that money.
they did.
so I
They
will
did.
guarantee you that the money that they gave you was money that they paid pennies on the dollar for an insurance company from somebody who's
Sure.
playing the risk ball game, and what they paid you back, that
I prefer
person,
to think that it came from blood diamonds.
yeah, probably,
Maybe. You never know.
probably.
So I may or may not have inadvertently committed insurance fraud. That
Yeah.
is we'll see. Again,
I mean, definitely
I'll
the way
know.
that I would start that off is by committing that to some verbal media that will be preserved for the future court case.
Right,
Especially
right.
because if FedEx were to call me as a witness, I would say, yes, Edward Horn did state that he had intentionally committed insurance fraud, because that's the statement he just made live on the
I said
recording.
unintentionally. I enunciated that and everything.
You said you've just committed insurance fraud. I mean,
I did say that. That I
I
did
mean,
say. And I
I
was like,
don't know. Context doesn't matter. Intent doesn't matter. This is the
Right.
America I almost said we. Thank God that not being true.
come
That's the
on over.
America you live in. I am. I'll be there on Sunday, Ed.
I know. I wish I could join you.
Unless I develop a cough.
I wish I could join you. But that's it. That was my week in gaming.
Oh, I should also, just to bum us all back out again. Why not?
Oh,
I'm like, I've been in a funk the last couple of days. Like, I'm just tired all the time. I don't know if I don't feel like the weight loss is still going down. I've just had no energy, and I'm just like, it's been a struggle this week. Just working super late and all of that. So yeah, my goal of being like super all buff, like for the next show, for episode 100, I don't know. I want to be, next time we play X-Wing, I want to be able to say, okay, I'll be skins this time.
Ooh.
But yeah, it's I just feel really crappy about it this week. But I thought, I can't just laud the good times. I've got to have both sides of the coin, so you all get to experience a journey with me. This
Mhm.
Right.
last couple of weeks, or like last maybe 5 days, been really hard, and I've just not been feeling it. But I didn't fall off the wagon. I had a cheat day yesterday. I ate a bunch of carbs, and then like today I've been like cereal. I took Evie to the sports center, so like we played a little bit of soccer, and then on the soft play stuff they have. Then she went into the childcare bit where I can't even say that I walked around the track, because I checked like my phone later for like the Fitbit app, and I had, out of a 45-hour long walk, I had 1 minute of that walk was in the fat burning zone.
Oh God,
So
I hate that.
I plodded around the track for an hour. I did my 10,000 steps today, but they were awfully slow steps.
It's so frustrating to me.
Oh.
That is like easily my What kills me is like, so we went to this is I think I've mentioned this before. Due to COVID, we elected to have our kids go to a cyber school as opposed to going to in-person school because we didn't want them to get COVID. Surprise, we still got COVID. Uh, Delta variant turns out to be it's super contagious, just in case you didn't know that. But through their online school, they had a field trip to a ski resort, a fairly famous one here in Western Pennsylvania, Seven Springs, and they were doing snow tubing. And just me hauling my like they even had one of the conveyor belts. Like it was stupid easy. You have a little like they have a little walk the dog on the snow tube kind of you literally just drag it from where the tubes are, you get on the rubberized conveyor belt to the top of the hill, slide back down, and do it over and over again. I burned all I double wrapped my exercise ring on my Apple Watch. And I'm like, how is it that I can do that? And I feel like I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. I just walked
So
35 feet
the
and then rode
first
and then rode an escalator up
so
or
for my
conveyor belt up.
birthday, I asked for one of the Fitbits that did the heart rate stuff as well
Mhm.
because my old one only did steps. So the first night I played like X-Wing and stuff, my phone was like, "Oh man, you've just done like 4 hours worth of high intensity." What am I? So do I get that jittery playing X-Wing that my fucking watch thinks I'm having a heart attack? Jesus, and this is me playing. So hopefully that puts some like understanding of me saying like when I'm playing competitive X-Wing, I don't like myself because this is just playing casually in the fucking group.
All right, so Sean, you're going to be able to relate to this story maybe a little bit more than Chris will. Every single day that we go up to play 40K, Gabe and I ride up together. We swing by Wendy's drive-thru. He gets chicken nuggets and eats. He tests. I had to stop dosing him for food that he was eating because either his heart rate's up or he's moving as much as he is. He would
Yep.
drop and drop and drop. So legitimately,
It's stress.
he can
It's the
consume
stress.
like 120 carbs worth of food. He drinks diet sodas, like so he doesn't have any. It's not drinking them, and then his blood sugar never changes.
Yep.
And he's just doing the same thing that you're talking about, Chris, where he's just standing over a table, rolling dice, looking up rules, moving models. That's all he's doing. But for me, that's super bizarre because in my mind, in our world, in the having diabetics in the house, any carbs you consume, you have to put insulin in their body. Otherwise, they're going to be 400 in an hour and a half
Yeah.
for their blood sugar. Not Gabe. He's even the whole way through, which is completely fast because he's not doing any work. It's like Sean said, it's all the stress of him putting his mind through all of that motion to get that going. It's really interesting.
Is he on a pump?
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of that because you're bolusing higher at dinner too.
Yeah, but
So
but he's getting nothing. He's getting
I'm not
nothing.
bolusing. It's the not bolusing. It's the
The
insulin that's always running.
yeah, the long lasting. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Because there's always insulin going in, but you bolus when you eat to counteract the carbs.
correct.
And what it is that the stress levels are so high that the continual insulin draw is enough to keep him at a steady pace.
Which is just fascinating to me. It just is genuinely fascinating to me.
Yeah,
Anyway,
the big problem with that is they can crash overnight and things like that
oh, I know.
because of it.
Trust,
But that is the mystery of diabetes.
Sean, I haven't gone to bed before 11:30 in 10 years.
Yeah, Aaron, my son, was so insulin sensitive that we had to test him at 3 a.m. every night for probably 10 years.
Oh yeah, I totally done that too.
Yeah.
Because if so, what'll happen is I'll make sure that I'll leave here. We're going to be done recording this podcast. I'll leave here. I will get up and go and test the kids. If
Hmm.
any of them are even in the low 100s, like 104, 105,
Yep. You give him a snack.
or we do juice. So
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
apple juice, they're at the point where they can zombie that, so I
Hmm.
can just put the straw in their mouth and they'll drink it. They don't even know they're doing it. They've reached that level,
Yep.
but then I've got to set an alarm for 3 and get up and check blood sugars again.
Do you do the protein snack at night with them?
No, we probably should. To be
Yeah.
fair,
Just
Um,
like meat sticks or cheese sticks or something,
yeah, okay,
along with their regular snack.
so in a way that I guess we do, because we do keep a lot of cheese sticks in the house.
Yeah.
Like all this zero carb. Like one of Gabe's favorite things to do, he'll make himself 2 eggs before he goes to bed.
Yeah, which is good because
Yeah.
that's and I know we're getting into the, juvenile diabetes talk on X-Wing podcast, but
I
In
mean,
case you
I'm
were
sure
wondering.
some people prefer this talk to the 40k one, so takes all sorts.
Like that.
yeah, just if you can try to get them a little bit of protein because that'll help them if they start to sink. It's such a long acting, carbohydrate that, it'll hit later on in the evening and stuff.
Right. But yeah,
Anyway,
so that's it. That is my gaming talk.
Yep. So before we move on to the main topic, I just wanted to preface it with the stealth updates that AMG have been doing to a rules reference and the scenarios.
Ooh.
It's nothing big. It's just like everything. It feels like this is wrong, but what it feels like is, oh, you're just gonna fucking whine about it on Facebook, are you? Well, shame I fixed it yesterday. Mm. Just
yeah,
not gonna tell you so that you look like a fool. Oh, the rules
Oh.
reference guide keeps saying this and it's wrong. No, it doesn't. Look, I can show you.
yeah, I
They
don't know what you're
changed it.
talking about.
Are you sure? Are you not just insane? Do you hate AMG that much?
Yep.
No. But yeah, they've just gone in and cleaned up a bunch of wording for things like the scenario. They've changed it to be like at, not within for some of the ranges. They've clarified scenario actions even tighter. And they're just kind of anything that people brought up, they seem to be reacting to. But like, I feel like that's like 2 or 3 different PDFs have changed in like, was it? Are we at 3 weeks since this happened? In
Yeah,
I think
probably
so.
about
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
but yeah, just like staying on top of it and doing. I would like to call it due diligence, but given the hysteria that like some people interpreted from like different things that were said, oh, we're never going to get updates or whatever. I'm like, oh, this seems like a really good sign. So
I
Yeah.
was
good,
just gonna
good
say
on
that's
AMG. Just like everything seems to be ticking up, and I don't know if it's their side that is different to FFG's side, or if like Disney are treating them or LFL are treating them differently or whatever. But like, no, I'm just gonna check. Like, this is,
that's
whether
a
they
good
work
question.
the line of what does and doesn't require approval more or not. It's like, oh, we don't need to get approval to fix something that's blatantly just a spelling error or something, do we? I don't know. But yeah, I find it's interesting those little differences.
Are they doing version history?
Um,
That's the only.
so I'm
Totally down with
currently
that
I
as
have
long as it's a
Star
version history.
Wars scenarios 2.220. Sorry, can't speak. Scenario 2.02022, so 222.
So
I don't
that's a yes.
know. Did I download it? I'll have to. I don't
Oh,
actually know if it'd be on my phone if it'd be anywhere, so I'll check what
it's
the
on
old
my
one.
iPad, which is upstairs. I could run up and get it, but I don't want to interrupt. But
No,
as
you
long as
can fill and I'll look as long as you're vamping, so we're not sat in silence.
yeah, no, give me 2 seconds, then I'll go get it.
No, it's in like you talk, I'll look.
Oh, okay. Well, so yeah,
I can't look and talk at the same time. Oh.
that is my. I'm totally on board with it. I think it's a fantastic thing. The only thing that I want to make sure is that we're ensuring that we have the correct documents out there, and this is developer ed. I'm going to put my developer's hat on for just a couple minutes while I'm sitting here. Versioning history is important so that I know what version we're dealing with. So whenever someone goes to a tournament and says, "Do you have the latest version of the rules?" you'll be able to look directly on the document that it says version blah blah blah, so that you know that that is the correct document. I'm 100% on board with spot changes. If they're going to make changes to the grammar, we forgot a comma here, we made a misspelling here, we meant to say this but we really meant that, as opposed to letting that ride for 3 months until the next update. They corrected it right away. I'm cool with it. I just want to make sure that there is a version history to make sure that we know what that is.
So the only one I can find quickly, so I'm not holding the show too long, is the
Sure.
rules reference, and that's gone from version 1.4 to version 1.4.1.
Perfect. So then, yeah, they are keeping versioning history, which is exactly what we want to do.
Like the
Good on you, AMJ.
scenario might just be it might be February 2022 because that would make sense, but it might
Here,
also be
well, hold on, I can tell you because
different.
I have them up. I have them up on my drive. Hold
Yeah,
on,
I don't have apparently I didn't save a scenario to my phone, but
hold
whatever.
on a sec. Give me one sec. So scenarios. I can find a version on them.
Oh, I also went swimming today as well.
Oh, that's good. The
Enjoy
Yeah.
though.
scenarios are just
It,
effective date.
I was laughing to Jill when we were eating earlier. So I said I was so like plodding along for the walk, and then got in the swimming pool because I'd said we'll go play soccer, you go to play, okay, then we can go swimming and have like a full fun day. But I got in the pool and I was still just that tired and fatigued. I'm like, this is a really bad idea. I'm just going to drown. I just can't. I got into it, but yeah, it was a hard one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, sorry. So
Scenarios don't have version. They just have
just the date. So yeah, cool.
3/1, the 3/1 2022 date.
Yeah, no worries. But yeah, like I said, they've cleaned some stuff up. So that's there if people want to see it. Obviously, just go to if you Google X-Wing documents, it's the first result. But it's atomicmassgames.com/X-Wing-documents. And then the mission we're going to talk about today is Scramble the Transmission, which is the last mission out of the 4 that have been published. That's the one myself and Sean already spoke about in the flight deck, but I'll give you a brief overview of it now. So it is Scrambled transmissions from a satellite to deny enemy forces valuable information. It's a mission objectives because you've got to get that story element in. Scenario setup is 5 satellites. You play on a 3x3 still. The obstacles is still 6. So asteroids, debris fields, and gas clouds are your legal obstacles of this game mode. You follow the normal setup rules with the following exceptions. Once you've got player order, you the first player becomes a red player. The second player becomes a blue player. Each player flips their player markers to a matching colors side. Then you place at the start of a place obstacle step, place 1 satellite in the center of a play area, which is centered at range 4.5 of all board edges. So this is a tangent, sorry. One thing I've seen for this is that people play in person because that's the way that X-Wing is made.
Yep.
And the mats are different.
Yeah.
So it's one of the complaints I've seen. So if you have a map that isn't square, you want the longest. You want to play across the longest side of it because it's better to have. You want to play on a narrower one, not a wider one. If that makes sense. Am I using words correctly here?
You are using words correctly.
Yeah. And then the way I would do this if I was in any doubt. So were I setting up a tournament, I would get a quick Pythagorean thing, but you want like a 4-foot piece, like 2 4-foot pieces of string to go corner to corner. So you can find where the center is, and then at the start of the day, just tape a piece of objective, like the one objective, to the center of each mat. What I would actually do, given unlimited funds and time, is I would actually go around and get the mats printed with the center objective already printed on them.
Yep. I was just going to make that very suggestion. So that's the catch with some of these mass-produced companies, even the official ones. If you own the official ones from Fantasy Flight Games, whenever they produce them, they are not perfect 3-foot by 3-foot squares. They're not. They have rounded corners, which has always driven me nuts. And B, they are not perfect 3-foot by 3-foot. That just comes with the manufacturing process. They may have been 3-foot by 3-foot when they were cut, and then the material kind of just shrinks over time, even if it's by a quarter inch, half an inch here.
They
If it's
are
not
like heat sensitive.
right,
Neoprene, just as a material, is heat sensitive. So, yeah,
exactly. And as it ages, it shrinks. In
yeah.
case you didn't know.
But
Um, so that is going to be. It's never been super problematic with the way that X-wing had been done traditionally from I wanted to say episode, version 1 or version 2.
so
Doing it this way, it's the same. You have the same problem in any miniatures game, though.
what
Like, they give you the suggested size, and trying to get the perfect measurements is never going to happen.
one thing that players should do is actually, when you set up range 1 from a table edge, like, were I the judge at the world's final, one, I would try and make sure that my mat was 3x3.
For
Were
starters,
that impossible to actually do, I wouldn't actually make them set up at range 1 from a table edge. I would make them set up the correct distance from each other. If that makes the table edges half, like 2 millimeters on either edge smaller or larger. But I think that's a more important number.
yeah.
But again, that's my interpretation, not necessarily correct, because the
So
rules state that you deploy range 1 from your table edge. But it fucks up the rule of 11, basically.
it does. It's interesting too that you mentioned printing the ones with the center objective already printed on it. For those of you that were paying attention in my 40K talk-up section, the neoprene mats that Aaron had brought to the league that night had predetermined marks on there for every mission in the
Yeah,
rulebook.
Malifaux used
So
to do something very similar when they started getting mats made. I believe it was Mats by Mars, were like pioneering.
same company,
Yeah,
same company.
yeah, it's the overlay. They're really, really good. Any game that allows pre-measuring, I believe that is what you should do.
Agreed.
It does break some of the verisimilitude of playing the game, but I feel like the potential for removing those things, like those arguments, is outweighs any loss of verisimilitude in having that overlay on it. But anyway,
Personally,
but yeah, it basically 2 pieces of string crossed over from corner to corner will get you a center, put it underneath that. But officially, range 4.5 from all board edges. Then, starting with the first player, you take turns placing the remaining 4 satellites. This was one of the things me and Sean talked through as we were playing, because it's got to be at range 3 of the center and beyond range 2 of each of a satellite. So you have like a band of the center one it can be, but then once you put one down, it affects the placement of the others. But additionally, you also can only place it. What's the correct word in there? At range 2 to 4 of your board edge. So it's like a hollowed out, cut in half donut.
yep.
Or a bagel sliced the wrong way, I think people have done. But it's a really cool graphic I saw. I think it was in the UK X-Wing group that had like the viable places for you to place the satellites until the first one is placed, and then obviously it's reduced because it has a bubble around it, kind of thing.
Right, exactly.
But do you remember your thinking, Sean, for placing your first one, or
No, it was kind of like just trying to make it so that it was as close to your side as possible, so that if you went past it, you went past it. You had
yeah,
no advantage. But the limitation on spacing and everything else, I don't want to suck more of your ability to gain points to the middle. I'd
yeah.
rather have it be once you're by it, which I'm pretty sure your concept of it was the same too.
So for me, the way I went for placing my first one, which is the one on my side of the table, is I wanted it as close to the corner of my side on one of the two sides as I could get it. Because what I want, again, because of the way I wanted to play it with only having 4 ships, I wanted to be able to take it first turn guaranteed with a wide variety of maneuvers and then leave it behind. Because for this mission, they stay on and they keep ticking over.
Right.
So if it's out in the corner and I'm forcing you to go and get it, one of your ships that outnumbers my ships is leaving the game to go and do that. I want to take it and I'm not defending it. If you choose to let me keep it, I'll rack up that point every turn.
Right.
But that was my thinking for like my first one. I wanted it as deep in as I could get it, and then I can just ignore it from that point on. I obviously as the game progresses, I might swing back around, but you know what like where I'm trying to go with that.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to have to do like a 5 straight to claim it. I want to be able to like do a 3 bank and still be touching that range 1 of it kind of thing.
Right.
And obviously I've got A for sprite, so I can always do my fine-tune controls to get my cheeky boost before my action phase, which again, Jedi cheating is Sean's favorite, you know?
Yep.
Then for placing the one on your side of a table, did you have anything for that, or was it? Because I think we both did the same kind of thing. We both dragged it a little nearer to the center.
A little bit nearer to the center. Yeah, that was the.
Yeah.
Conceptually, you're going to go as close to the center, so you have interactivity with it as long as you can.
Yeah, and I think we also lined it up almost perfectly with the outside one, so we're pretty much like parallel
we did that
on the same vertical line.
We did that, and we also lined them up closer, like to the asteroids too.
Yeah. Yes, that's moving. Right, so the reason why I went close again is because I wanted access to it. I knew you were going to take it, but I didn't. I wanted when I go for that one to not be out of the fight. So the opposite kind of thing of like I want to still like that's the one I want to swoop onto, or like hang around, do a hard 1 onto, and then boost
or do one of your magic moves towards, and then
magic moves.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a real shame if like my Hawk could like my Lat, who is Hawk, could make one of my Aether Sprites boost in the end phase. Then they can do a hard 1, which happens to be blue because of my droid, and then boost. So I can do a boost, a hard 1, another boost, and still get my action in my action phase.
Yep.
So I can be pretty annoying with them to get them where we need to be facing.
The thing about it is the restrictioning off the side, that now range 2 from the side.
Yeah.
It doesn't give you many choices. You are limited. Your choices going forward are better than your choices going backwards, but at the same time, that could also be looked at in reverse too. Where your choices going backwards are more than your choices going forward. But I think really I think that people will have to develop strategy with that, because if I'm going to do it, I want to try to make it so that my opponent has to go outside instead of inside. So how am I placing asteroids, first?
Yeah.
And then, so there's a lot of, which I didn't take into consideration in our game because it's the first time I'd done it, but after the game, those were things I was thinking about was, well, you might want to take some consideration in asteroid placement, maybe asteroids on the inside, the thing on the outside of it, stuff like that, so that people have to.
I thought your asteroid game was pretty good. I felt like I don't know if you were just mirroring what I was trying to do then.
No.
Because
when I place asteroids, Chris, I never look at what the other player's doing.
So
I always try to create strategies with asteroids based upon how my list flies.
Yeah. So what I tried to do here, because it's an action that you have to perform to actually turn it on or off, I wanted to try and deny the opportunity to get those actions where I could. So I didn't put, like, the first one I placed was guarding the center on Sean's side, but I think I put it relatively tight, but not tight enough that him coming straight at it over the top would be range 1. So he had to look
Yes. Yeah.
around the asteroid, which is why his
Yep.
A-wing had to get the
Yep.
bank boost, which meant that he couldn't do the action as well, which is what opened
Yep.
it up for me to get it.
Correct.
Because if I'd have put the asteroid a little bit tighter, he could just fly
Or on
straight at
either
it.
side, or
Yeah,
on either side of it too.
yeah,
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 that was a good positioning for the A-wing because when I looked at it, I'm like, well, I'm going to have to boost, which means I'll have to go to Plan B, which is going towards your back row, claim, do the hard turn, next turn, go to the other one, same
yeah,
thing, and try to play not, because we talked about it before, Chris, in the show before, which is what sold me on the A-wing was the fact that you're not attacking with that A-wing. That's not the purpose of it. Your
yeah,
purpose of it is to cap, it is fast and it's nimble, so you can cap objectives.
yeah,
Almost like it plays a role
Yeah,
in
yeah,
your list for doing that exact same thing.
yeah,
yeah.
and with that one, I could have gone down. Well, no, I couldn't. That was the only 1 point A-wing, so you're kind of locked in at that point. I'm
Yeah.
not going to give you a point for sure because, as we saw, giving you a point would have sucked.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, but then for obviously at some point I had to place asteroids on my side, which
Hmm.
again I always tried to make sure were on Sean's side of my of the objectives on my side of the table.
Yeah.
Or anything that I've got to place on my side. Like I didn't I think I might have two and two'd the opposite rock. So where I said I wanted my first satellite to be the one that's
Hmm.
effectively two and two in the corner that I can
Yep.
just get really easy. So the opposite side got one of my rocks because that takes it out of the game and can't stop. And then the bubble from that also controls where. So
You
I
can put
think
the
turn
nest. Yeah.
zero has become massively more important in this kind
Yep.
of scenario.
I was about to
It
mention.
does. Yeah. In that scenario or anything where you're placing five of them out there, five
Yeah,
of anything out there, because you have to think of asteroids and how you're placing them to make them defensive. Basically, how are you going to make them defensive
uh,
against your opponent? Because you want to try to hold those backline ones as long as you can.
yeah. I mean, I would go as far as to say I think you can either have offensive and defensive
Yep.
obstacle placements now,
Yep.
because like I can be taking a big rock, not because I want a big rock, but because of the surface area that its range one bubble takes up. Because if I put it in the middle, like in the triangle of the three um objectives, so obstacles and objectives above O's of the objectives. If I put it in the center of that, the range one bubble might push that you can't block any like two of those
Right.
with your next rock.
Yep.
So like putting if you want to be able to claim an objective, you might put a rock at the side of it
Hmm.
because then they can't put one in front of it. So that
Right.
would be like a defensive placement for an obstacle. Whereas
Right.
in
Or you're trying to force them to the outside rather than inside,
yeah,
and then taking them out for a turn or two rather than allowing them to still be in that middle, in that knife fight area.
yeah. And I think like for your list, I think pulling the objectives further in on one flank and then
Hmm.
placing the obstacles on the outside of them to like cut off that channel to make the table narrower so that you can have that range one dogfight, knife fight that you want.
Yeah. And, my concept of setting it up was for that long reach of the A-wing,
Yeah,
hitting that back edge and then being able to turn, capture it one turn, which of course I failed to do, and then taking, that three bank or whatever it was, setting up for the next turn for its capture because you're not getting those two back right away.
yeah,
If I can take those two,
yeah,
And it's kind of like if you ever played WoW and you played a Wrathy Basin, in WoW the battlefield of Wrathy Basin, it's kind of the same thought process as that is
Mhm.
the battle of that is always towards the middle, and then you have ebb and flows on the flanks,
Yeah.
and
So
that's how it works.
one of the things that I'm really intrigued with all of this though is that we're not just talking about, oh yeah, so we set the rocks up in the usual V, or we set the rocks up in the usual tight X, or we set, the
Yep.
arrowhead here, or like those. It's now it's definitely more in depth. Like what I used to talk to people about. So when you place in turn zero stuff, you want to be able to. You can't control where your opponent goes. I'm not like the cliche is, or you just drag them through the rocks kind of thing, and
Hmm.
that's that involves your opponent obliging because
Correct.
they get to pick their own moves. As it turns out, who knew?
Hmm.
There isn't a taunt ability in X-wing,
Hmm.
Um, but like setting up channels that I'm going to set up here, and then I've got a choice of going up that gutter, back down my own table edge. I can bank on my second move and take that channel, or I can turn on my first move and take this channel. And then in 3 moves' time, this is where my prime engagement's going to be.
Yeah.
This is where
It's
my
like
fireworks are going to be at this point of the game, kind of thing.
it becomes more of a chess match. You
Yeah,
you really have to understand your opening, and you have to understand your list and your opening, and then you have to look at that middle game and what that middle game is going to offer. And then from there, it's how are you going to close the game out. And
yeah.
if you the hard part is the moment you fall behind, it can be difficult to get back in. you
That's one of
know
the things I think is definitely true in these scenarios. And I'm gonna be honest, Sean. I don't know how much of it is A, the lists people are playing, and
Correct.
B, the way that they're playing, like the choices they're making, because I've I
See,
feel
see,
like so the equivalent, the way I'm gonna try to frame this now is we're back to playing first edition X-Wing, where I would take my 4 X-Wings and I would fly them at your TIE swarm, and we'd meet in the middle and roll dice. And then one like, oh man, this game's really swingy. I don't know like why I keep losing, or like
yeah.
like that TIE fighter rolled a bunch of evades and then I just lost all my X-Wings. Oh man, I had to shoot Biggs 3 times and did like 2 damage, so I just lost.
Yeah,
I've
but with this, I don't think it was exactly that. It was
it's,
it was
uh,
just well,
it's go on, sure you
I
go,
I
and
I
I'll
I,
come back.
I think you're correct as far as your list, because I will say this: I do believe my list is a good list against the list that you're playing because I can control the board with ion torps and ion cannons. I have an ability to slow your list
Oh,
down.
I'm not so much talking about our specific game or your specific list. I just
No, no,
mean
no. I get it. I'm
the
just saying
general
that.
concepts of like,
Yes.
as an example, if in our game you were relatively spread out, and
Hmm.
I took the center and destroyed the piece you'd sent into the middle in Garvin, which split your force into two, which then
Hmm.
allowed me to collapse on the other side. So I ignored 10 num because that's just one ship and I've still got 4. But you had 2 coming the other way, so I was like, if I collapse on the 2, I'm definitely going to get one of them in arc of all 4. And that,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so like, but the way because you were trying to be able to claim all 5 and contest all 5 and fight the entire front, because that's the natural thing to do. So I can't give up all of these objectives. Whereas I was very much like, well, I can't hold these objectives, so I'm not even going to try. I'm just going to take what I can. And I think that might, and I could be wrong here. People can literally correct me on this, and it's fine. I don't mind. But I think that the reason why the game is so swingy is because people are going all out on something and then shitting out.
So
It,
when you look at, so let me really quick, because I think this does matter, is the strategy I was trying to use was almost like a Napoleonic double outflank, instead of a single outflank, because I pulled Gina Moonsong in to the middle from the right. That was my whole plan,
yeah,
was to force turn 3 as a fight in the middle, where Garvin was doing what Garvin does and passing things,
yeah.
and I still sped. That I didn't like slow crawl this up
Oh
either.
no,
I went for it, and the whole, the concept was try to get that A wing back behind and double swing. The problem was that when I took the proton torpedo shot, it failed.
yeah,
So now I lose the strategy of slowing you down in the middle so that I can now take all the shots at
yeah.
you.
And that's why I'm not trying to go too deep on our specific game.
No, 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 no.
There's
But it,
people
it does.
taking, yeah. What
Yes,
the thing I'm talking about,
strategy
Sean, is
matters.
that people are
Strategy
taking
matters.
like are going all out. So for rebels, for example, people
Hmm.
are saying that every rebel list has to start with the 2-point A wing and a 2-point C wing.
No,
Oh, sorry, 2-point Z95. And I'm like, so you're basically forcing yourself to run a 6-ship list, and I don't know that that's the right choice. Because, yeah, sometimes you might be able to control more of the table and get the objectives and other people can't. But equally, a Z95 can just die.
correct.
So
And
if you've sent Blount out to hold something on the flank, to claim that objective on the flank and chip away, and then someone comes in and just fires one proton rocket at it and it dies,
mhm,
you've given them a 2-point from Blount and lost that objective.
Yep.
correct. Now you're 3 points in the hole.
Yeah. But but I've got more ships, so I still have 5 ships left now. Like, it's true, but if all your ships are easier to kill, it's more swingy. So if the evade dice, so the list that I felt was, and again, 4 games, guys. So please don't read too much into this as a real complaint. It was just and it is probably 99% because I lost. But playing against the A-Wings where I had bad targeting choices and just played badly and lost, I was like, oh man, that feels like a really hard match, but I don't know what I'd do. But equally, it's like, if one of those A-Wings just pops, how does he ever do any damage to me?
Right.
Like, yeah, you can fly around with the objectives or whatever, but like, and that's why I think games are ending relatively quickly, which is one of the complaints. Like, our game finished relatively quickly, like turn 5 or 6 would have been the completion, I think.
Yeah,
I'm
6
pretty
would have
sure it
been
was
done.
turn 6, turn 7 if you'd have
Yeah,
got
it was
the
turn
delay.
6. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which, I mean, the game still took practically 75 minutes if we played it out,
Hmm.
but turn count, because the turn limit is 12, it feels weird that it's ending that soon. Does that make any sense? But yeah,
Yes, yeah, because
but
you're
yeah,
putting anytime you put an end figure onto something, you know, games don't feel complete if they end early. It's just
yeah,
like in Armada, it's just like in 40K, it's just like in any game where you have objectives out there or you have turn limitations. Sometimes, you feel like turns are left on the table or however you want to put it. But in this, because you're gaining points from objectives and then you're gaining points from killing ships, that game is at the speed of the dice at that point. Truthfully, it
mm.
literally is at the speed of the dice and how your dice roll so that you can modify them in any, whatever way possible.
And I think that's one of the things where I feel like my 4-ship Republic list, I think, and I might, it's two. I've played 2 games, but only one of each. Only one of the 2 scenarios, kind of thing. So very little practical experience here. But I think the fact that it's so frustrating to try to kill them, I feel like that's of more value than trying to force myself to fit. Like, I could go up to 5 ship lists easily. I drop one of the 5 pointers and take click and a 3 point ship.
Hmm.
And it's like, oh yeah, great. But
But you
do
don't have
but
but you don't have the synergy.
yeah, like do I have two ships that are now easier to kill? And
Well,
it's really weird.
doesn't that go back to 86 and 85 or whatever it was, the Echo Whisper list, where are you going to give up the 12 points, or are you going to keep the 12 points? Or, because you're giving it up
Yeah.
either way. You're giving up 12
Yeah, I
points.
was gonna say
When
it
you look
was
at it,
different back then when those lists were floating around because they were basically holding on to those 12 points.
Yeah, but
yes,
I mean, but
because
that's
the 12 points was for initiative bid. You're giving up a
Correct.
ship for
yeah.
initiative bid, but at the same time, just like people who played that list and had the ship in there, a lot of times that stupid TIE fighter got in the way.
Yep.
Well, yeah, like for this, like the equivalent thing now is like we don't give up half points in this scenario. So if my ship limps away with 1 health, I can then send it to claim your backfield objective, and I'm still getting value out of it.
Correct.
But would I have been able to do that with a weaker ship because I
I don't,
wanted
yeah,
more?
no, I get it.
And
Yeah,
and
that's
that's
that's a
why
good
I
point.
feel like that. I think it's because it's so new, and the instant approach from everyone has still been, what can I spam the most of? So like 6 interceptors, which Ed, I'm surprised you're not all over this list. You'll like it. It's Nash Windrider, Goran. So basically, Nash lets someone who so 4 initiative 1 interceptors, all with
Mhm.
trick shot.
Yeah, okay. I can see
Is it
that.
trick shot? No, I might be wrong. I might be lying. I can't.
Crack
I
shot.
might be confusing two. No, it's. I can't even remember if you can take that or not. Anyway, but there's 4 interceptors. Then Goran is another interceptor. His ability is that one of them gets an evade token, and then Nash's ability is that if someone dies, you get to spend his charge, and they get to attack at the current initiative value. So you can't be initiative killed with one of your ships,
Interesting.
and it's a 6 interceptor list. So
It's three
yeah,
attack dice.
that's going to be a super swingy game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very.
and that
Bec-
doesn't take into consideration running into your own ships and getting damaged.
So
um,
I've got questions. You
yeah,
guys have been you've been going on for a little bit. I've got questions
yeah,
since
it's good.
I didn't watch the game, didn't participate in the game. Going into this game, what were your strategies and what were you thinking when building your lists? Because it sounds like obviously Sean, you added specifically a ship in there because you had the 2 points and had to put in something, a ship whose sole job was to go out and grab objectives. Were you
The
building
whole
your list with the idea of clogging up the middle and claiming those, or and as the game progressed, was it I need to go out and grab objectives? Because I've heard a lot of talk of. It seems to me that the game was built on or losing is not the right word. The game was decided by combat ultimately in the end, but it was also objectives. Like it was a whole bunch of that. It was kind of a mixed bag. So I'm kind of curious
so
what you were
so
what you were going in with.
so conceptually, the first turn, of course, you want to hold your own two,
On your side of the board and try
your
to
side
grab
of
that
the
one middle.
board, and then try to get the middle. That's because that is, I think that is the natural thought process of people when you're looking at something like that. Because it's still just like any other game. Your objectives are in four corners and the ones in the middle. It's just like
Mhm.
asteroids are basically played the same way. The whole point of, well, the big point of the list was the strategy was to pull in and pincer him, control him. Because on my ships, I have ion cannons and ion torpedoes. I'm using 10 num with two ships that can pass him stress. So that 10 num, he's my highest, or he's not the highest, but he's the best ship I have on the board for usability. He can either auto blaster him, ion him. So he's kind of the one that I want to attack ships. The other ones I want to control, ion torpedoes and ion cannon. So if I get the hits in on Kris, or I get the hits on any ship, you're now limiting them to what they can move. Now they're moving, taking one damage, and they're moving. You know, basically the ion move. And so now you're controlling the board. So my goal was to control the middle, use the A wing as the runaround ship, like Kris was talking about, was to try to get the back. And when he talked about having a ship with one health left, getting them out of the fight and going to capture objectives. Because I don't fly A wings very well. I'm just not. It doesn't have a one straight, so my brain. Well,
I was
that's
wondering
why.
about I wasn't gonna say that out loud, but I was wondering
That's
about
why
that.
I
I
didn't. I
think
didn't.
the A-wing was probably the star of your list because I mean I got
It did
lucky in the
exactly what I
first
wanted to.
exchange because I did.
Yeah,
I think I did take him to 1 health in the first turn of like random pot shots. I actually just blasted through the A-wing and managed to like. I think I took 1 damage on Shakti, didn't I?
yeah. That was
Um,
off. That was off. Not the A wing, but that was off Garvin. I think you
yeah,
took.
the A-wing and Garvin, and I think Tennum maybe, or maybe I was out of arc for Tennum. I can't remember. But
No.
it was definitely 2 shots at Shakti, and I dodged the A-wing, or he blanked out, I think,
Yeah.
because I'd forced him to spend tokens. Or oh no, he boosted,
No. No. I
and
boosted. I
yeah,
boosted.
yeah. But I managed to damage the A-wing, take it to 1 hull left, but it didn't die in that game. He got
Yeah.
behind me, was claiming objectives, and I effectively just let it do its thing because I had bigger fish to fry. Like I'm not going to chase it because I need my wolf pack to stick together to do
Right.
work.
See,
But
in my wolf pack, the concept was wolf pack comes together by turn 3. It just didn't hit anything. you know,
yeah,
4 ships. I had 4 ships shooting at split targets just because of the asteroids. Because the asteroid caused me to shoot, instead of shooting everything at Shack T, I shot at the lot, which I did
yeah,
get the ion through on the lot. I did got enough
yeah,
to put 2 ion tokens. But
yeah.
ultimately, the game was lost, in my opinion, when I didn't claim the center. He claimed it. So it was 3-2 after round one. Round two, it was 3, or it was 2-2, 2-1. Round, no, it was 3-1 round two.
Yeah, round 2 was a really good round for me because
Yep.
you the one where you attempted to flip it, didn't flip it,
Yep.
just removed
Didn't
mine,
flip.
but I flipped yours. So it
Yep.
was only 4 points to score, and I
Yep.
got 3 of them.
And
So it was a big round.
and then round three was the Garvin Drees,
Yeah, he evaporated,
well,
and
he didn't, he died turn 4. Because
yeah,
turn 5, you killed the other. You had everything basically shooting
yeah,
at
Pollard,
the yeah, Pollard.
yeah.
But he took 1 damage on turn 3, was still in a good place, but then I bumped, and that's what
Yeah,
screwed it.
I
Was
got you the lap blocked you, didn't it? Yeah.
yeah, the lat blocked the move, and because it was, I had to make a choice because of you're rolling for initiative after dials. So if I win initiative, I stop the lot. If he wins initiative, he stops me, and that was the concept of that.
Mm,
And he won initiative, and he ended up blocking Garvin, and then Garvin just vaporized turn 4.
yeah.
And then he
Um,
had all 4 ships shooting at Pollard on turn 5.
yeah. For me, Ed, to go back to your original question, so obviously I didn't build a list for this scenario.
Yep.
Clearly.
I took the list that I've made that I wanted to try. I want to try it in all of them. So I have in my list building, like I have what I think are tools to let me do a bit of everything. But the main side of it is I want survivability, and the ability to output damage.
Yeah.
Which objectives don't matter to that concept. Then the things that allow me to do the objectives is the fact that I'm playing um Republic, so like my good ships are slippery.
Yep.
So I've got 2A for sprites, well, a Delta 7B, a Delta 7, and an A to 2. So I have system phase boost or barrel roll from Shakti. So I have the ability to claim that center one at initiative 4. I've got post move before action repositioning from the Aether sprites. So I can do stuff like a boost or barrel roll into range 1 and then use my action to do it and still have force. Just fucking cheating.
Yep.
Like, I'm not gonna lie, it feels pretty good. And then, even though I've only used Hawk's ability once in 2 games, and I think it was on himself, Hawk giving me an end phase boost to open up, like holding force and stuff like that, is what I plan on using to help me with those objectives. Because I can, and again, I don't think I can hold objectives. I can fight you off them, take points off your list doing that, and as
Interesting
long as I'm
strategy.
contesting enough, then
It's
like,
free points at that point.
yeah. Like,
Interesting strategy. I like
yeah.
that idea.
And
You know,
I shouldn't give up points from my list. I might give up points from objectives, but if I'm not giving up points from my list, do I care? I don't know. And that's an honest thing. I don't know. But
and I think Kris is correct. I think durability in this will matter a lot too. You know,
Especially
your
for the ships that are going out and designed to go out and hold the objective. Either that or you've got ships that are super fast that you can bounce from one objective to the other.
yeah.
well,
Well,
it's but like Kris said though, if he's killing your ships and you can't kill his ships, he's gonna win through that attrition game. And then the bonus for him is getting the first 2 objectives, getting the middle. He isn't worried about holding them, but he's nimble enough to
I'm
where
slowing down the rate at which you score points whilst I
correct.
kill you. Is my entire
Right.
plan.
That's
I think that's.
I
I'm
think
not going to be all and end all. Like, I'm not dealing in an absolute here because I'm playing Jedi. But
oh
the
yes.
general plan is that if all I have to do is slow down the rate at which you tick over whilst I
yep.
kill you.
And this was just one scenario, like Kris said. He's
Yeah.
done 2, but I don't know what list you played against in the first time, other scenario that
So
you
the
played.
one I've used this list was the Separatist list, which was two hyenas with bombs. It was cluster mines, seismic charges, a Django Fett with a bunch of stuff, and Blaze Bomb, and then a General Grievous with all of the stuff. So it was another 4-ship list. And we were playing the still the 5 objectives, but the number of ships matters. And in that one, I went all out to take the bombers out of the game because I didn't want them because they can just sit on the asteroids that he's put near the objectives and just turn around and shit out a bomb to annoy me. So I went hard on each flank and just went straight at the bombers to just kill them. And I committed. I didn't want to talk too much about this game because it's a different scenario. So we can do it when we talk about that scenario. But basically, I barrel rolled mace into bullseye range 1 of one of the hyenas, meaning that there was 0 chance that I could not fly over the asteroid. I was like, I don't care because I'm going to shoot it with my barrage rockets from the LAT. I'm shooting it with mace. I'm getting the rerolls from everything. I double arced the LAT, so I had the turret pointing forwards and then firing the barrage. So I can LAT reroll myself, which is a very rare thing for a LAT to be able to do. But I just went all in on taking off this hyena, and then the same on the other flank. I sent Luminara to take the longer range shot and Shakti to try and get in close and auto blaster it. And I think I ended up trading I traded out Shakti because he got me with one of the bombs because he was a lower initiative than me. So in the system phase, I couldn't barrel roll out until after the bombs dropped. So he dropped a concussion mines and I rolled double hit, and that was enough to finish me off. If I roll anything but double hits, I was fine. But whatever.
Yeah.
but I reduced that one to one hit, which I then killed to win me a game like 5-6 rounds later, kind of thing. But yeah, just that same kind of thing of like, I need to kill these because then you can't score those two all of the time. And I'll take the points from killing the ships, even if I'm not claiming those objectives, because you're not claiming them. So I'm slowing down the rate at which you're. I don't want you to passively tick over against this list. I want you to be fighting me because I win that fight. I believe I win that fight. And maybe against 6 interceptors, I don't.
Right, because
But
they're just woo.
yeah. Well, I don't know that if I sit in the arc of 6 interceptors, I don't think I do win that fight anymore.
Well, true, yeah, because that's 18 red dice.
Yeah, but
That's a lot of dice.
yeah. But
It's
that
making me rethink the list that I want. Like, because don't get me wrong, I'm still going to play the Tie Swarm list just because it's Tie Swarm, and I definitely want to try it out for myself to see how it feels because I have my own theories and how that played out. But I absolutely see the point of if your objective is to send a quick, fast ship with very low hit points, so to speak, and high agility, and hope that that ship is going to be claiming objectives every turn. That's probably not a wise decision. A mixed bag of a ship or two for those purposes, and other ships that are more durable that can endure some of the damage that's coming.
So I've got a better one for you if you like.
Oh, hang
And
on.
just so you don't copy me, I'm just going to tempt you back to a dark side here. Did you know that you can take Night Beast, 2 Obsidians, Wampa, Cynthia Fell, and Scenery, so you can have 2 I6 aces and a 4th tie mini swarm?
How many ships is that? 6?
6 ship, where 2 of them are I6 interceptors.
Interesting.
You have a total of what, like 18, what, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 health on the table.
Yeah,
But I
exactly.
mean, you're pretty worried about messing up with the 2 interceptors, but they're I6. So for
Mhm.
this scenario, one of the things I wanted to ask Sean about, so even if so I'll get the point out and then I'll ask Sean a question. But having 2 I6s means that if you are not first player, it's impossible to stop you. If you're working those two in tandem, you cannot stop them from taking one of these objectives because one moves in, flips it back over to at least neutral. And then the second one can come in and actually claim it if you fail to on the first one. Because you're more than likely going to flip it because it's focus, hit, or crit result. So I think 5 out of 8 results. Maybe is there only 2 blank? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's in your favor. It's in your
Yeah,
definitely in your favor to get it.
but obviously if you don't, it sucks. But if you've got a second ship at the same initiative working as a pair, then it's 100% all of the time you get to change one of them. So having that tag team, and obviously my entire list being I4 means that I1, 2, 3, I always get to go after them. So even if Sean beats me in the race to the middle, I get to go after him and take it back from him.
And actually, we talked about that
Yeah.
too in the game.
Yeah. And like,
Was because that was an interesting point because that came after I rolled and failed, and then you came up and took mine by blanking it and then getting it in
yeah,
the after effect. And that's where you can see a list that tandems itself like that is a very strong list. Because if I'm moving at 3 and I take it but I blank, so it's now back to neutral and I don't have another ship to take it, Kris walks in with a 4 and gets it. Now I have to roll well because it'll go back to neutral, and then roll well to be able to get it again with my 5.
yeah.
And having that double ability is really strong.
And like, it feels bad to sacrifice your action to not do anything.
Hmm.
It's like, oh, I took it off you. Did you though?
Yeah.
Like, would it have been better to just sit there and focus? But then I get to focus as well. So by doing it, do you deny me the action? But then I've got the thought, you know what I mean? It
Yep.
changed down, but I think that pair of in that specific list, the reason I like it as a concept is because I've got those two I6s. How many other lists are going to run two I6s and still have six bodies?
Right.
Yeah.
Like that seems pretty decent to me. I think Rebels can do a decent amount of I5s, like Thane Kyrell being an I5 for 4 points. This is one of the things that I I kind of just sidestepped the discussion because I wasn't really in the mood because I was just hungry and tired and grumpy for the last like, couple of days, so I didn't want it to go in the wrong direction. But like on the Fly Better page, Ryan Farmer had asked about like what ships were surprising, and someone said the 2-point A wing that Sean was using should be in every Rebel list, and then Ryan asked like what about Blount and stuff like that in a conversation, and I was like, there's different sides of it, but basically, I don't know that every Rebel list should have those two-point pilots because for that 4 points, I can have an Initiative 5 X-Wing.
Mhm.
Correct.
Is that Initiative 5 X-Wing going to serve me better? There's a bunch of 4-point Initiative 5 pilots in Rebels. I don't think you can do 5 Initiative 5 ships in Rebels, but you can do some really interesting stuff. I think I was looking at a list the other earlier today. It's on my computer upstairs. I didn't save it, but from memory, it was Thane, Wedge, Ibstam, which is the cheap Arc 170 that's Initiative 3.
Mm-hmm.
Then Ezra in the TIE Fighter and AP5 as an Initiative 1 coordinator who can coordinate even with you stressed. So you've got
Mm-hmm.
three crew carriers who can, all of them can afford to take Leia. So you can put Leia on whichever one you want to. You've got, like, I was going ion torpedoes on the X-Wings for that control that Sean was talking about. Because they can't afford protons, but like there's enough. And it was outmaneuver Wedge. So that like you
Ooh.
can't just like one of it that fucks me. My concept of I'm just going to be tanking hard to kill. If I'm only rolling one fucking dice, I'm not very tanky, am I?
No,
Like
you
Right.
aren't.
Wedge
Right.
comes in with his eye on top and goes, "Get fucking wrecked, you're ioned now." And I don't know how much it puts. There's a lot of pressure on the Arc and the two X-wings to carry a lot of the damage weight, but you've still got a coordinator to make sure that like stuff's going double modded, and you've got Ezra who's literally just evading every turn and holding Leia probably, so that your other ships can K-turn and just being that ship to mess around. And I have 0 2-point ships in that list,
Yeah.
but it works in a very different way. I'm just going to bum rush all of these objectives, hope that none of my stuff dies, and then I just win because we roll dice at each other.
Hmm.
And I don't know that I'm right, but I know that it's an option, and that excites me that we're back to a point where people don't know how to play X-Wing at the moment. And I'm
Yes.
not saying that this is the
Yes.
way that you should play it, but don't get sucked into it being like, oh, you've just got to build your list like this and take these ships and do, you just fly 6 interceptors at the closest thing, or you start every list with a 2-point ship and work from there. I think the game's become a lot more nuanced, but
Hmm.
we as a player base just haven't played enough to see it yet.
Right.
Agreed.
Any other questions, Ed? We've just touched past 2 hours, so
I've got one and
yeah.
one alone. Did you find yourself making moves in that game differently than you would have in editions prior? I.e., I could line up these two ships into a kill box, into a small kill box to take some shots onto a ship, to drop some shields off or drop some hull off of it, or I could sloop this ship and claim an objective.
Yes, but I don't know. So for me, I Luminara went on a little bit of a detour to hold Sean's back objective and to flip that. I could have just sent one, but again, I needed to make sure. And Luminara has a harder time of getting around, but she can clear the stress okay. So she took a. I didn't. I think I still got shots, but it was range 3 obstructed shots or something like that. I might be
Mhm.
Yeah,
slightly off.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. You got obstructed shots on.
yeah,
I think that's
but
what kept Garvin alive longer was the obstructed shots.
yeah. Um, and then I not necessarily in this game, but in the one against um Will with his droids and stuff. Again, I put myself in a position to automatically lose my shield off Mace, and I did roll a hit and took the hull as well. But I needed to clear him out off that objective. Um, he dropped a debris cloud. Is it no? Spur parts can no, not spur parts. The big one, and I can't remember the name of. Um, yeah, the one that the large and medium base ships can shit out of the back.
Oh,
Yeah, I can't remember.
it's the
Yeah,
big debris cloud.
it's a debris cloud that you get to place as an action. Yeah,
Yeah.
he deployed that, which I could have done stuff to get around it and keep chasing, but I'm like, well, I'm on the correct side to keep holding this obstacle, so I'm just going to hard one the other way, not have a shot, sit behind this objective now because I've got an asteroid in front of me and a debris cloud to the right, where the center of the table and all the actions that way. So he's going to have a hell of a time damaging me now, and I'm already on the objective. So I'm just going to stay here. And yeah, it's my 7B intercept. So it's my big 3 dice, my big swinging ship. But I hung around there and then went and finished off the hyena. But I was saying died later. That's how I got it because I was hovering in that area, just again ticking over points and protecting my 7 point investment or whatever it is, my 6 point investment ship. So I do find that I'm still playing with the obstacles in mind, which makes it a very different objectives in mind. Sorry, which makes it a very different game to like previous. I'm not saying editions versions, but yeah, I don't know how you felt about it, Sean.
So yes, in that I'm playing with A wings, so that would never normally happen.
Yeah,
So I would say yes, that I'm playing a little bit differently than normal. With B wings, no, because I've played a lot of B wings over time and have a pretty good understanding of what their limitations and what they can do, and how to fly them in and around rocks. X wings, I haven't played with an X wing in a long while, so that was a little different. But it's, in my opinion, it's just a tiny bit faster than a B wing, if you want to call it anything.
yeah. Closing the
But
wings and
no,
getting the boost is good as well.
yeah, there's pieces of it because I didn't do that, but I'm okay with that because it's the first time playing the list, so I have to
Oh,
figure
yeah.
out, and I didn't hit all my synergies either.
But
That was it.
one thing I did want to ask you about, unrelated to a main, I probably should have asked in the flight deck side of it. But like, how do you feel now, given that the old man list we used to talk about is
hmm
much harder to come by without making a deliberate sacrifice? Because you have this loadout value, which inherently makes you want to take cards. Like, are you? How are you? I don't want to like take the question, but how are you
So,
finding that?
so if I look at the other list that I have built right now with the two fire sprays and the Z95, that list is more of an old man list than the rebel list was for sure. Because I mean, yes, there's more to it, but it's still, you're still trying to just play the basics, and then you have other switches that you can turn as you go. That's kind of the way that, because that's Boba Fett, Crassus, and Nadru. That's conceptually, I think it'll be a different type of list to play with, but it will be just as fun. But I think that's kind of the closest I can get to an old man list, unless I draw all the way down to just taking generics. Then
Yeah, I
Then
think
you're
that
really
might be
getting into that.
a fun experiment to try and do. I don't know if it'll be because obviously I'm enjoying going through these scenarios, but
Yeah,
maybe once we're a bit more into a game, maybe trying to look at can we build a viable list that doesn't really worry about the loadout value too much. Oh,
right.
I'm
That'd be interesting.
taking I'm spending all of my points on proton torpedoes because I know what proton torpedoes do.
Correct.
So like I'm looking for something that has exactly 12 loadout in a torpedo slot because then I don't need to worry about it. But like
Yeah.
that kind of list, I'm sure there's viability and like stuff you can do in that direction. But I personally haven't put the time into worrying about that just yet. But that might be an interesting sidebar to have at some point.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's I don't think this changed the way that I played. It's you're just adding another element into the game with the objectives. So I'm playing lists that I'm familiar with for the most part. At least three out of the five ships I knew how to fly. Well, the X-wing isn't, like I said, much different than a B-wing unless you really want to, you know, GTFO at that point.
Mhm.
The A-wing is a little different, but I've flown A-wings long ago in the past and had success with them. So there's not, but I flew them way different. I didn't. I flew them as ships that were fast. I flew them in formation, and I flew them so that you're shooting everything at one ship. That was the concept of the 6A wing list that I flew. In this regard, one of the things that you do have to pay attention to a little more is your end result on your ships. And the reason why I say that is because I didn't want to take unnecessary damage. So that was the one change in all of it for me was dialing maneuvers in that made sure that I didn't give you extra, free damage basically, and not bumping my
Right.
own ships. That was the key to for me flying was taking those two things into consideration. Everything else I flew, I thought the way that other than having the wrong ship on the wrong side, I really think that I flew it the way I wanted to. You know, Pincer move to the middle, get the A wing to the back. Garvin doing what Garvin does. I know I'm going to lose Garvin. I know that I'm going to lose him. But if I can get two good turns with him passing focuses, and I can get a good shot, either a focus target lock style shot or something to that effect, I think I do better. But
And you say you know you're going to lose, Gavin, but it took all four ships and
I
I
agree.
perfectly killed him.
I agree. No,
So
no, no.
there's definitely a world where Gavin lives with one health left, and then
But I
it's a
know
different
that. But
game.
I.
But
But I know he's your prime target right off the
yeah.
bat.
Oh
And
yeah.
so he's like Biggs. You're going to lose Biggs because of what Biggs does.
Right.
For me, in this regard, though, I knew because you don't want my ships. You don't want my ships to be able to pass stress, and then still be focused. You just don't want that.
Yeah.
It's not what you want, and and I really think that if I roll a little bit better on both offense and defense, it's a closer game. I'm not saying it changes the game, but it's definitely a closer game at that point.
Oh, I mean,
Y- You
it's
know,
one of
it's
those things like
yeah,
just chaos theory and fractal
yeah,
division
yeah,
off it. Like the second, like Gavin lives with one health, I then can't do what I do in the center. I can't
yep,
switch my focuses easy because someone still has to deal with him.
yep,
That
yep,
gives you time to do more stuff. Pollard's not taken off the table.
yeah,
The
nope, absolutely.
multiverse from that point is a very different place.
Yes, yeah. And I'm not
Yeah,
even just talking about him, but it was, Pollard rolled. I can't tell you how many blanks on defense dice. I had he died with he died, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, with the focus token still on him for how
yeah,
bad I.
yeah.
It was just that type of a thing where I either rolled blanks or I rolled evades, and that was it.
Yeah.
You know,
Feast or famine.
Yeah, and the shot that got him was the range 3 or range. Yeah, I think it was like a range
I
2
did it in the
expected or
wrong order,
range.
didn't I? I shot
Yeah,
Shakti
you did.
first instead of
Yep.
last, so I was lucky to actually get the kill because
Yeah.
I put uncancelable crits onto shields and then was like, why did I do that? I could have shot
Yeah,
everything
that's
else, get rid of the shields, and
yeah.
then put these crits onto hull. But
right. And it was you did that. You did shoot it, out of order, but at the same time, it was when I had the two obstructed or range three, whatever they were, shots. I blanked both those, and
Yeah.
then because I took two damage on both of those, I took the two off of your whatchamacallit, and then I took the
Yeah.
three damage
The
off that
lat
last shot.
the lat did damage, everything. Like I said,
Yeah,
my offense was near perfect in that game.
yeah. And the thing was is, that was the one where you bled one extra damage through because,
Yeah.
you did the extra hit and all that. And
Yeah.
but, that is the way X-Wing plays, It's some
Yeah.
days are like that where dice are good.
Well,
Edge in my game is a great example of that when we played,
no,
feels
I
like a
just think that was
lifetime
Ed being a
ago.
shitter, and we'll never have proof otherwise because Ed doesn't play X-Wing anymore, so
I've got incentive now. We've talked about this. I have incentive for.
yeah.
But I will say one thing I will say, Ed, to answer your question, and this really isn't totally about list or anything, but it's about reinvigorating the want and will to play X-Wing because it's a different game. It's just not a rollout ships. Whoever has the rock paper scissors match is going to be different for a while. I think too. I do think that Chris's list is the synergy lists. I think are going to be really helpful too. The list that
The good thing about my list, Sean, for me anyway, is that it's not too big of a change from what I was playing before.
right.
I've basically got to upgrade my lat and throw a bunch of really good upgrades on it.
Yep.
The sacrifice I had to make was changing from Anakin, who had an advanced proton torpedo, to Mace, is much harder to use, but he has 3 force and
Yep.
like
And he
never
used them
die.
well.
Like just never doesn't die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the key to it is just I didn't change what I played for the most part. The list was still built with B wings, so it was enjoyable. I had fun. Um, and as with any game, you have to practice. You have to get repetition in with what you're doing too.
And
And
Yes.
that's where I felt a little bit out of sync with it. Was just I haven't repped in this type of list in a long time, so a little more
yeah.
difficult.
I'm just gonna keep hammering this 4-ship list a few more times because I want to see if it, and it doesn't matter if it wins or loses. I just want to see if it can actually keep up. Like,
Well, you wanted to see what it can do with all the scenarios too.
yeah,
I mean, because you're
like,
like me, I'm not going to go and play in super high competitive tournaments, but you still want to have fun. You
yeah,
still want to have a list that can win. If you can win three of the four scenarios, you're going to make the cut every time because out of
like
6 rounds,
on
you're
my
going to
head
have,
sim, I think I can win. I think it can win 4 of 4 scenarios. I don't think there's a
yeah,
scenario it's bad at. There might be matchups it's bad into in specific scenarios, but I
right.
also think that there's in those matchups, it's good in other ones. Like I think that Shakti is an absolute terror in the tolling scenario because if I land a crit,
Yeah.
you drop the box and you can't stop my crits.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And if you've turned to face Shakti to stop that happening, I feel like I'm winning.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, I don't know. And it's easy to head sim a bunch of scenarios that feel good or feel bad, depending on your mood and the way you go interviewing those scenarios. It's one of the things I used to argue with Bob about all the time.
Right.
Like, yeah, that's right. If you perfectly line everything up and get perfect math out results, it's really cool. Like, I
Yeah.
think the threat of violence I got from the internet was after the Colonel Vessery with the Defender title, the double tap Vessery, like the
Yep.
splash damage thing. I was like, there's so many chains to this to ever actually happen in a game. It's never going to happen. So I
Right.
don't care how efficient it is because it's not going to happen. And
Right.
then people said they wanted to beat me up. So yeah, awesome. This is the old internet as well. Jesus.
It
But
is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm still really excited. I think this scenario was good, felt good to play, not just because I won. In that it feels
It
fine.
feels pretty. It feels very granular.
Yeah,
You know, when you get down to it, it feels like it syncs well with what they're trying to do as a company, what they're trying to do.
yeah. I like the flag placing of it. It's like, okay, I'm taking my action to do this thing. So
Hmm.
you inherently have ships that are better at that. So like people with force are going to be better because they always have those calculate tokens we're talking about.
Right.
But you pay points for those over like, and I can only have 4 ships if I want them all to have force. So is that trade off worth it? Who we don't know yet, right?
Right.
But I really like that aspect of it. I like the idea that you increase the value of aces in this scenario because they get the last action on the table, which is the strongest because the points aren't scored until the end phase.
Right.
Right. Right.
Like it doesn't matter if you go first and claim all 5 at initiative 1. If your opponent goes last and claims 3 at initiative 6, you just shit out, haven't you?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like this scenario a lot. I recommend it. I still think if you're trying to learn the game, I probably would recommend playing the chance engagement still, just for the cleanliness of the scenario. I still
Yeah.
Hmm.
wouldn't recommend playing without scenarios. But I don't think there's any problems with this one once you get over how to set it up, which just do it step by step. Do what the scenario says, don't do what it doesn't say. You'll be
Right.
fine.
And don't overthink it either.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else?
I think that's a good place to stop.
Yeah.
And we got all this word that me mentioning once, not one time, that the Obi-Wan Kenobi teaser trailer was out today.
Yeah, we I watched it with Jill yesterday. Yeah, it's good.
I
Um,
was disappointed, but
that's because it was all Force stuff, so you wouldn't like
yeah.
it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's
Yeah.
gonna, that is that. I was disappointed as well, but not for the same reasons that you were disappointed. I'm super excited for it. I was disappointed that they didn't end up getting Jason Isaac for
The
the
Inquisitor.
Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah. I
Or
will say, I will say it. I'll enjoy it when it comes out, but it just once again, I
the
would rather
CD.
see 6 episodes of him sitting on a toilet reading the Tatooine Times. You know.
Tatooine times.
I don't. I think as long as I don't know, it's going to be a balance for me. I want to see how much they balance telling stories about Obi-Wan Kenobi with how much they balance all this other cool shit.
Hmm.
To me, it's cool. And I like the Inquisitors. I want to see all of that side of it. But the series is called Obi-Wan Kenobi, but Ewan McGregor, I can only imagine, is expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
So
imagine.
if we get 5 minutes of Ewan McGregor a week and like 55 minutes of side content, I might feel cheated because I would have rather had a series called Inquisitorius. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
So the
Yeah.
one concern I have and about that show is there's going to be another meeting between Anakin or Darth Vader and Obi-Wan because there has to be a way for them to make it so that the line Darth Vader says in the Death Star against Obi-Wan Kenobi, you know, last time I was but the learner, now I am the master, has to be able to fit because right now it doesn't. And with Hayden Christensen in, and you see the panning up the tower that was in Rogue One, you know, how are you going to use Darth Vader? How does this work with Darth Vader and Obi
so
Wan?
my worry, I don't know, worry's not the right word. My belief is probably that so Vader establishes Inquisitorius.
I get that,
So
yeah.
Mhm.
they might not actually share screen time. I don't know. But I don't know. If they do, it's I don't really again, I'm not gonna hang my hat on how all of that goes.
Right.
I
No,
just
no,
want
no. I get it.
I'll
I get it.
watch it and I'll enjoy it and see how it is.
I mean,
My thing with it is I don't know Like, surely it's kind of like watching Rogue One or Titanic. It's like, okay, so anything that Obi-Wan does can't have any consequences. Anything that Vader does can't have any consequences. Anything that Fifth Brother does can't have any consequences. Anything that
Right.
Grand Inquisitor does can't have any consequences.
Yep.
So all of
We
those
know where those
characters are,
characters end up.
yeah. So anyone who isn't those people is going to die.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the Raiders of the Lost Ark thing, that Indiana Jones had nothing to do with the outcome of it.
So I mean,
'Cause he didn't.
I'm excited because I like Ewan McGregor. I liked his portrayal of
Yep, me too.
Obi-Wan.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to more Star Wars. I'm in the middle of watching Peacemaker at the moment, so I've got like 3 episodes of Peacemaker left, and I need something to move on to after that. So hopefully this will do.
I can make a suggestion. Amazon Prime Reacher.
I've not watched that yet. Yeah.
Gabriel recommended it. My son recommended it to me. It's really, really good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Is it rewriting the Jack Reacher thing?
But it's a different universe. It's the same universe, different timeline, I suppose, would be the right thing.
Yeah, because it's kind of like what they did with Jack Ryan,
Yeah.
which annoyed the piss out of me because I was a huge.
Do you mean Jim Ryan?
Yeah, Jim Ryan.
Jim Ryan.
Yeah, I was a huge Clancy fan, and when I saw that, I was just like, I liked it, but I didn't like it that much because, to me, Jack Ryan will always be Alec Baldwin. That's the way that it works.
Not
for
Ben
me.
Affleck?
Or Harrison Ford?
Oh, God, no. Hunt for Red October, that soft-spoken Jack Ryan was literally the Jack Ryan. That was my Doctor Who.
So
and as much as I love him, Sean Connery muscling his way through a Russian accent.
I read a bunch of Clancy stuff before I realized that Jack Ryan's in Hunt for Red October.
Really?
Just in my head.
Yeah, I can see that.
It was Harrison Ford in Patriot Games and whatever the other one is. What's the other one for Ford?
Some of All Fears.
Clear and Present Danger. Yeah.
Clear and Present Danger, Some of All Fears, and then they kind of stopped it there because and Jack Ryan becomes a president, by accident.
I mean, and also I got to see Sean Bean as Sean Bean
as another. He's in
Clear and Present Danger.
Games. He's in Patriot Games.
Yeah. The IRA is the bad guys.
Yeah, it was his brother that was killed, and he comes back to try to kill Harrison Ford. The wrong Jack Ryan.
I love Sean Bean.
Yeah, he dies well.
He does
very well.
He really does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you've got some housekeeping to do. So yeah, if you, like I said, you're looking for some new show after that, Reacher.
Yeah,
really.
I'll have a look. Okay, so yeah, thanks again, everyone, for the Patreon support. You can support us through Lack of Focus Podcast on Patreon if you wanted to do a monthly Lack of Focus Podcast at Patreon is the per show. We recommend to do like $1 or something. You can do more. I obviously appreciate more, and we often donate the Patreon money to good causes whenever we have like points getting and that kind of thing. So we try and do our part, and you do get some tokens whenever we get them made. We get sent out to everyone who's, even if you've only donated once throughout the year, I still lose money on the Patreon, but whatever, it's good fun. And if you would rather do a fixed monthly thing, you can just go to Dice Hate on Patreon and do it that way. It all goes into the same pool. Like I said, this month I donated $75, which I think is basically all of the Patreon money and change that I've just made a clean number. I think I got $68. I'm going to open the books on Patreon. I got like $68 on Patreon this month. We're big spenders.
Huge.
I mean, I'm being facetious because obviously we've never wanted it to be about that anyway. But that's why I try and make people not give us money while telling us they can. It's fun. But yeah, we we'll try and make sure the money gets used for the right things. None of it goes into our pockets, if that makes any sense. But thank you again to everyone who does support us and allows us to make what little difference we can. If you want to ask us any questions, shoot us any messages. I'm going to stop talking about all of the other ways you can buy now, because you already know them. They're all in the show notes. But the best thing to do is just join the Discord. Apparently, you can now just ask me for a channel and you just get it made instantly because I'm a pushover. So,
did I see you made a music one?
Yeah. Audio Weasel asked for a music channel, so I was like, yeah, okay. I mean, it's a click of a button. I need to think of a name. Yeah. I mean, it was an easy choice for a name.
Nothing but Duel of the Fates all day long.
But yeah, join the Discord. We're all in there, and we have some good chats and stuff. And yeah, I really like Discord. It's a nice concept. I still have all of my notifications turned on Discord, so whatever time you message me, unless my phone's muted from like midnight until 6 a.m., but I'll see it and I try and respond. Commenting on the YouTube videos, we've had some good comments. Sean's had his fans come asking about his Grix airbrushes and everything.
Yeah,
so, which was crazy. I didn't, having fans was still just beyond me. But
yeah, it's been good. I've really enjoyed doing the YouTube content properly again, and like just seeing the uptick of like the subscriber count was just trickling away and going down and down and down, and seeing it turn around because I'm actually doing it again was a really rewarding experience. So thanks everyone who's been supporting the YouTube content.
So what you're saying is if you make content, they will come? Is that what you're trying to say?
Somewhat like that, yeah.
That.
But no, that's it from me. I don't want to like stress too much about it, but yeah, I couldn't have. I have zero money. I need to save up for a second child, so being able to give that Patreon money to a good cause was a nice moment today. So thanks everyone. I really appreciate that.
Congratulations again.
Yeah.
All right, so that's going to do it for this one, Sean. Always good hanging out with you, my friend.
Yep, always good to be here.
Kris, always good to hang out with you.
It's always good to be here.
2 away from the big one. This was 198. We've got one more. So in a month's time, we will be recording episode 100. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Can't wait. So, all right. Until next one, guys, as always, fly casual. Thank you once again for joining the Lack of Focus X-Wing podcast. Check out Dice Hate Productions for all of the latest episodes, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you again next episode.